Hello, everybody. This is Daniel Avenger from Nocturnal and a couple of other stuff. See you at the Tampa Morgue.
Burning at the stake, it would just suspend you and escape from permanent death. Escape from permanent death. Take it back to life. Black blood, judgment. Escape the other side from permanent death. Escape. Not sure if I like for a week, cause the Scalare is free with state. Not sure if I like for a job, everything I wrote got fucking blood. Why you smell a pumpkin stick? Welcome all the blood you bring. From as far as I can get, from justice get eternal. Escape from the death. Escape from permanent death. Impact on the fear, hang on low and free. The wish that words suspend to escape from permanent death. Escape. I was in the graveyard zone. Separate the flesh from snow. Separate the soul from flesh. When we live again.
What's up? This is Tony, and you're listening to the Tampa Morgue Season 3, Episode 107. And as always, from his studio deep in Tampa Bay, Florida, Mr. Ed Webb. What's up, Webb?
Mr. Anderson, 107, man. We keep steamrolling this bitch.
Yeah, man. It seems like we were just at 100, right, when Terry Butler was on. And, every week we've been doing shows, which was never planned, actually. At first, we were, who the fuck knew we would do 2 shows a month even?
Yeah. I mean, at first, remember, we were guestless. We were just doing our own thing and, just doing this for fun, and got our first guest, got our second guest, and then it just, now we have people that we're getting on that we're asking that are like, oh, I listened to your show.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Fucking,
to me,
which is crazy.
Too, which is
fucking
great.
It's crazy, man. It's awesome.
And we've had, you look at the last couple weeks even, we had John Walker on from Cancer. We had Ed from Negative Plane. Who else do we have on? Inferno from Disaster. Alessio from Violenter. Ex-Hobbs of Death. Sergeant Sulston from Death Hammer, which was a killer interview. We've been busy, and actually tonight we opened up the show with Nocturnal from Terminal Death off the Serpent Death record that came out on Dying Victim Productions on August 27th, 2021, and we'll actually be joined in about 30 minutes by Daniel Avenger from Nocturnal. Daniel's in a lot of bands, which we'll talk to him about tonight. He's kind of like, I think of the silent film star Lon Chaney, who we all love Lon Chaney. The Man of a Thousand Faces, or Mel Blanc, right?
Yep.
Man of a Thousand Voices. You
Yep.
think of like Bugs Bunny, Daffy,
Yep.
all those. And then now we have Daniel coming on, and Daniel has a lot of bands. So it's gonna be a long episode, man. So we're gonna kind of keep the intro short. Me and Ed will come back at the end like usual. Say goodbye to everybody. But Ed, man, how you doing, man? You've been feeling better lately.
Yeah, back is fucking back to normal. It's kind of an oxymoron, but yeah, man. When you knew how much pain I was in, I mean, it was fucking bad, man. For a few weeks, I was nervous, and I've been going to see this chiropractor. We mentioned him before. Long
I've been interviewing
chiropractic.
co-hosts on the side. I have to be honest, man. I didn't want to say anything, but
yeah. That's yeah, I'm sure you were. But yeah, I mean, I was worried because I was seeing this guy, and I didn't feel like it did for the first couple weeks. It wasn't feeling any better, and I always get nervous that did I pick the wrong fucking place? Is this guy just running through the motions? But man, they put me on this decompression table where it kind of straps you in at the top at the chest, and it pulls the bottom out to kind of let the fluid in between your discs. And he's been doing that, and they've been upping the weight of the tension every visit. And bro, I'm like, I don't feel nothing. Like, aside from last week when I finally was back at the gym for the last week and a half, soreness from going back because I missed 2 weeks not being able to work out. So yeah, I told him I actually was there this morning, um, getting ready for this podcast. I was worried I was going to run late, and yeah, man, long chiropractic. Dr. Michael Suma, I got to tell you, him and his wife and the whole staff are just unbelievable. I've been to a lot of places, a lot of doctors, and I have to say I'm lucky. My doctor rules. My allergist is fucking awesome. This guy it's like everybody's getting me back. No, you notice how there's no more congestion, gone, over, no more nasally Ed. I mean, now I sound like a fucking human. So yeah, man, it's fucking awesome. And I couldn't sit here you would see me, nobody could see us on video. It sucked because there'd be times I'm squirming in this chair because it was so uncomfortable. I bought this fucking $60 belt that goes on that's got a vibrating thing and a heat, and I was wearing it 3 to 4 times a fucking day just for relief, and I haven't touched that thing in a week. So yeah, dude.
health is back, man. That's good to hear.
It's not just it's not just body, man. It's the mental. The mental thing was fucking me up pretty bad. Like, I told my wife early, I'm like, if I had to live like this, because there's people who have chronic pain that can't ever get rid of it. This is why people end it. You know what I mean? Because I couldn't live with that. There's just no way I could live daily with what I was going with. It's just no way.
Well, plus
Sucked.
for you, man, you have a lot of stuff you have to kind of be healthy because, eventually, as we say, with monstrosity and stuff, you're going to have to do gigs, you're going to have to do
Yeah,
tours, you got a new album coming out.
yeah.
So, you have to be at
That's
your
what was a
best.
concern.
It's
That's a
stressful
concern.
shit.
I'm thinking, man, what if because I was starting to think of Kirk from Crowbar sitting up there when they're on the tour, and he's sitting in a chair playing guitar and singing. And I'm like,
Yeah.
there's no fucking way, man. Like, I always wondered how what's his name from Possessed? I'm like,
Yeah.
how could Jeff sit there in a wheelchair because your stomach and your diaphragm's all compressed, and he's singing those songs? And I'm like, no way, I couldn't do it sitting down. It would I don't know. It's just devastating. But yeah, no, I'm feeling fucking 100%, and I'm loving it.
Well, that's good, man. We are definitely glad to hear that. And it's one of those things, man. Your health is pretty much what you got, at a certain time period in life. And
Well, you got to remember too, when you went and had yourself checked out. You thought you were something was a little
Great
deficient,
numbers, dude. That's crazy.
and you come back and you're spiked, and now you got to figure out what your trigger is.
Well, I've been beat, like I'm, me, I'm always on the go. So I'm like, whether it's doing this podcast or just have 2 kids, I'm always,
That's it, dude. I'm gonna tell
I
you
run
right now.
every day. I'm always doing stuff. And I was really shocked when my doctors were like, "Oh, your numbers are actually great. Like for your age, it's amazing." So I got lucky. Knock on wood.
No, but
Hopefully
you have
I'm
to
still here next week.
definitely check. Like when you're in pain, for years I would try to ride through shit, and
Yeah, that's how I
it just
am.
gets worse, and especially like I've said, back pain and teeth pain are the 2 that I can't take because they just don't go away.
Well, look at Ronnie James Dio, right? They say if he would have got looked at,
Right.
he would have
Exactly. That's
been
my
they could
point.
have helped him, man. So you gotta
Yep.
think like that,
Well,
especially when you get kids.
and I dealt with it for a week and a half before I decided to call somebody,
Yeah.
and he told me, he says, the first time you feel back pain, you got to come.
Yeah.
And, yeah, man, Dr. Mike rocks.
There you go, Dr. Mike. Well, we're glad you're feeling better, man. And, like we said, we have a busy show tonight.
Busy.
Yeah, we got upcoming guest wise. I do want to announce we have, which I don't know if I mentioned it last week. We have Vincent Crowley coming on next week. But then the week after that, we have Black Venom from the band Flame. He was also in Urn, Adorier, Demon's Gate. He'll be on, I think it's October 6th, I believe that time
4th.
period is.
4th.
4th, October 4th.
You
See, Ed
you
is in
you
charge of the calendar too,
you
man.
have me on the 6th, dude. We're both getting castrated. I told
That's
you
right.
that.
It's your anniversary.
It's my anniversary
so
and my wife's birthday, 2 days, to fucking 5th and 6th, and I look back on that and said, that was not a good decision.
I
25
remember
years,
that,
dude.
yeah.
25 years I'll be married. Isn't that fucking crazy?
Yeah, that's just crazy. So, yeah, we do. Like I said, we got Black Venom coming on October 4th, as Ed said, from Flame. So we just booked that. Flame out of Finland. Said they have a new record coming out. We have some other stuff in the works too that we won't announce until it's confirmed, but a lot of stuff going on. And Ed, I say, let's, we're going to mention shows. We're going to mention the musicians who passed away. We're going to mention releases. So let's run the promo. I mean, I feel like a broken record. We've been doing this promo for a few weeks now,
DMD, Death Metal Dave.
which actually I'll be at the Tampa Bay Metal Museum this year, which I didn't know until about last week, pretty much, or 2 weeks ago. So I will be there for that. I'll probably be there on the Saturday because I believe the Sunday is Super Bowl Sunday, the following day.
Is.
So yeah, I'll be there
know,
for that.
But I think that it closes before Super Bowl starts.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
So
Yeah. So, I mean, Ed was at it last year. I haven't been yet, but it's the
Yep,
Tampa Bay
it's
Metal
killer.
Museum. Yeah. And there's a bunch of old Deicide banners, amps. I mean, just tons of old Tampa Bay and Florida in general metal history items, right?
Oh yeah. And this year they're doing it even like bigger than
Yeah.
before. Like last year, the way he had it put together, I was like, man, that's pretty killer. But now since he saw how it kind of went, now his vision is even bigger. So should be killer. Come get your Tony Anderson shirt signed, and
Yeah.
he'll,
Right.
he'll
Yeah.
he'll prick his finger and make a blood pact with you. And
Yeah. No, it'll be cool to be there though, because I'm always like last year I
missed
wasn't
out,
able
yeah.
to.
you
So
missed
this
out
year I'll
for
be
1
in
year.
town for that. Hopefully there's going to be a show or two while I'm there that I can catch, but I will be back in the Tampa Bay area in February. So Ed, let's do the Dave Allison Tampa Bay Metal Museum promo, and we'll come back and do the releases and musicians who passed away, shows, and then we'll get our guest on, Daniel Avenger from Nocturnal. What do you think?
Sounds good.
Cool. It's gonna be a good episode. Yeah, so here we go. Let's run the promo with Dave Allison. We'll be back after this.
What's up, Tampa Morgue listeners? This is Death Metal Dave from the Tampa Bay Museum of Metal. And I'd like to ask you to join us on February the 7th at Magnanimous Brewery, Seminole Heights, where we're going to have a killer display of Florida metal history. Backdrops, guitars, drums, clothing, you name it, we're going to have it. And it's pretty freaking cool, man. Come out and support the metal and drink our Tampa Bay Museum of Metal beer. And always listen to Tampa Morgue with Tony and Ed. It's just Death Metal Dave. In your face.
And that was Dave Allison, aka Death Metal Dave. For more information on the Tampa Bay Museum of Metal, you can visit www.tampabaymuseumofmetal.com. There you will find a shitload of Tampa Bay metal history that dates back to 1982 and takes you to the current day. I mean, actually, it's a shitload of Florida metal history. So yeah, if you haven't checked it out, go check out that page. And as always, before I do the next promo, I do want to thank all of our regular listeners, as always, for sitting through it. This is episode 107. Started doing this a few years ago. We're a deep dive interview show. If you haven't checked us out before, you're going to find that out tonight. But you can go back and listen to all the previous episodes. We've had guests like Nige Rocket from Onslaught on. We had Vincent Crowley from the Vincent Crowley Band and Asheron. We had Ritual Butcher from Finland's Arc Goat. We had Snowy Shaw from King Diamond, Merciful Fate, Notre Dame. We had King Fally from Deceased, October 31 on the show. Terry Butler from Obituary, Massacre, Left to Die, Inhuman Condition, and of course, Death. Terry takes us back to the old Florida scene. It's a great episode. Crusher from Finland's Morgul came on. You can check out their history. Louisma from Hemorrhage and Depopulation Department. He was on the show. Jeff Manis from Venom, a 5-hour episode. If you're a Venom fan, I always say this. It's definitely a must listen. Pat from Hellwitch, which was our first interview ever on this show. So Pat was an awesome guest. We had Norway's Heimland on here. We had Knife from Norway. We've had Blaine Cook on here from The Accused, Dave Austin from Nasty Savage, Henry from God Dethroned. We had the guys from Morbid Saint on the show, Kyle Thomas from Exorder, Trouble on the show, Floodgate. He was on here. We had Carlos and Hugo from Colombia's Witch Trap on here, which fucking love that band. Gene from Perdition Temple and Angel Corpse was on the show. Lee Payne from Clove and Hoof. I always say that Lee Payne episode, man, there's a great Ozzy Osbourne story. We had Eric from Goat Seaman on the show out of Peru. We had David Howard Thornton, who played Art the Clown in Terrifier 1, 2, and 3, and will be in the next one, obviously. We had John Gallagher from Raven on the show. Lord Sabathan from Enthroned, Slaughter Messiah, Morbid Death on the show. We also had Rob on from Lucifericon and Destroyer 666 on the show. So, like I said, we're on episode 107. So there's 106 back episodes you can go check out. For the most updated information on the Tampa Morgue, I definitely recommend checking out the Instagram page. It's where we put all our upcoming guests on. So you can check us out on there. We do have a Facebook page. We don't pay for any ads and stuff. So our Facebook page is, it's what it is. I mean, we put the guests up there. We try to put some of the audio up there, and just whatever happens. But you can also email us at thetampamorgue@gmail.com or message us on the Instagram page. So we always respond. So what I'm gonna do next. Anybody who listens to our show regularly knows that we always try to pay respect to the musicians who passed away in the last week or two. And, we do this on every show, and we do apologize if you pronounce any of the band's names wrong or, sometimes the last name wrong, but we are only human. We're going to start out, of course, with Thomas Lindberg, 52 years old. It's been a rough one for the metal world lately, and this was another hit. Obviously, Thomas, the front man of At the Gates. He was in The Crown, Grotesque, Infestation, Lockup, Night Rage, The Lurking Fear, Sign of Cain. He was also in the Swedish crust band Dysphere since like 1998. But yeah, we lost him yesterday. Andy Heeb, a German drummer for the band Smash Mind. Also, Woutier Lemons passed away. He was a Belgian guitar player. He was 33. Played with Volksrides and Evil Shepherd and Malism. And also Chiego Flavia, a.k.a. Suicide, from Absynthetic, Luciferiana, and Catharasic. He passed away. And last, Oscar Lopez, a 73-year-old bassist and vocalist from Argentina, and he was in the band Mordaz. Those are the musicians who passed away in the last week or two. And like I said, we always try to mention them. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over releases, and then Ed, I'll see if you have any releases, and then we'll get to our guest, Avenger from Nocturnal, and a bunch of other bands, which we'll talk about all that tonight. I'm going to start out with Hellbearer, a UK thrash metal band. Darker Fates is the name of this one. It's an independent release. Hellbearer formed in 2022, put out a single in 2022, and the band's first release was a full length titled For Those About to Bear Hell. Darker Fates will be the band's second full length, has 11 tracks, and will be available September 19th. New World Depression, the German death and roll band. Abyssal Void is the name of the release, coming out on Testimony Records out of Germany. New World Depression formed in 2005, and their first release was a 6-song EP in 2005 titled The Last Step of Evolution. This will be the band's 7th full length. This one has 10 tracks, will be available on CD and vinyl, 12-inch, and this one will be available September 19th on Testimony Records. Dead, Spanish death metal band. This Side of the Grave is the name of this EP that's coming out on Edge Circle Productions out of Norway. Undead formed in 2013. First release was a 2-song EP titled Blood Enemy in 2015. Undead put out a full length in 2019 and 2023. This Side of the Grave will be the band's 3rd EP. It's out September 19th on Edge Circle Productions. Solicitor, the speed metal band out of Seattle, Washington, is releasing Enemy in Mirrors. That comes out on Gates of Hell Records out of Italy. Solicitor formed in 2018. First release was a demo in 2019, and they also put out an EP in 2019. This will be the band's 2nd full length. First one came out in 2020. And Enemy in Mirrors will be out on September 19th. I got a few more for you, and we'll get to Ed, and we'll do our shows and stuff, and then we'll get to our guest. Wolfheart, Draconian Darkness 2, the Finnish melodic death metal band. This one's coming out on Reigning Phoenix Music. Wolfheart formed in 2013. First release was a 2013 full-length titled Winter Born. Anybody who's interested in this band, we had Thomas on episode 58, so you can hear about the whole history of Wolfheart and his history. This EP has 5 tracks. 2 of them are acoustic and 1 is live. Draconian Darkness 2 comes out September 19th. Evil Cult, Brazilian black thrash metal band, is putting out an album titled Triumph of Evil that's coming out on Awakening Records out of China. Evil Cult formed in 2016. First release was an EP titled Evil Forces Command in 2018. That had 5 tracks, including a Cruel Force cover of Victim of Hellfire that first appeared on the Cruel Force 2018 demo titled Into the Crypts. Also appeared on the first Cruel Force full length that came out in 2010 titled The Rites of Satanic Might. And actually, I'm pretty sure we're going to talk a little Cruel Force tonight with Avenger, because I know that the guitar player Slaughter was in Nocturnal and Witch's Sabbath with Avenger, and the vocalist Carnivore also was with Avenger in Sacrifiction. I'm sure we'll discuss a little Cruel Force, but back to Evil Cult. This will be Evil Cult's 3rd full length and a follow-up to The Devil is Always Looking for Souls that came out in 2023. Evil Cult features members past and present of Bloodright, Chrome Skull, Warbound, and Jack Devil. This will come out on September 19th, and it'll have 9 tracks. And last but not least, The Damnation. The name of this one is Eyes of Despair, coming out on Soul Cellar Records out of the Netherlands. The Damnation is a Brazilian thrash metal band, and The Damnation formed in 2019. First release was a single in 2019, and they also put out a 2020 EP titled Parasite. They also put out a full length called Way of Perdition in 2022. But this next release, Eye of Despair, will be out on Soul Cellar Records on September 19th. And Ed, what do you have for releases?
Yes, for releases, the only thing I have is Coroner put out a single called Cemetery, and Testament put out a new song, which I have to tell you, I think I told you yesterday that Testament is one of those bands that just they don't change the path. They just fucking keep writing ripping fucking thrash. I mean, from Legacy, and I know we've talked about Souls at Black and Practice What You Preach, and everybody's like, oh, that dude, go back and listen to those records. That's not like Slayer doing Diabolus and Music or whatever the fuck that was, where they were doing the one where it was like rap rocky. Like this, they've never fucking really strayed from straight up thrash like Megadeth did, obviously Metallica did, Slayer did. But bands like Overkill and Testament, Dark Angel, those kind of bands, the old school, even Anthrax did. So these bands stayed true to fucking thrash, and Testament's put out 2 songs, and so is Corner, and they both fucking absolutely shred. I've always been a Corner fan. Royce is
when was the last time you played with them when you guys did
that? On the cruise. Yep.
What year was that? 2014?
I told Royce straight up. That was 2012. That was the first
2012.
cruise. Yep.
Damn.
I told Royce because we hung out with them the whole cruise. They were so approachable, and then they wound up hanging out with us. We went into the Bahamas and hung out at a bar with them. And I told that dude, I'm like honestly, I said, you were an inspiration, but you also made me want to sell my gear because he plays so fucking effortlessly and sings like that. And he's awesome, man. And he's so humble, like such a nice guy, man. I mean, but yeah,
It's always a plus.
but as far as records, I went through Spotify. I don't even know what's going on in music anymore. I listened to a bunch of stuff that I'm not even going to mention because when I listened to it, I was like, what is this? And you know me, I have a vast, I'm more open in music than you are.
Yeah.
And
I admit that. Yeah. I mean, totally.
like I don't mind metalcore and some stuff because I can take it. Like Mudvayne put out 2 new songs. I was a big Mudvayne fan. Like LD50 was fucking killer back when it first came out. I don't know what they haven't written songs in 12, 13 years as a band. And I'm like, this is what you're fucking putting out.
And I
I'm
will
like,
say, I've never liked that stuff.
No. I know that, but I'm
People
saying
are like,
like,
oh, I've never, like, I've always been that. Unfortunately, I'd
but
never liked any of
you've
that.
been around like your significant others.
Yeah, my wife
have
likes some
liked
of that stuff.
Slipknot,
Yeah.
Mudvayne, and stuff. So you hear it.
Like, I'm much more into, like, obviously the European thrash and death metal and black metal bands, and but she's younger by 10 years, so I think that plays into it, maybe, I don't know, but,
Well, I
there's
don't have any
definitely
of that. My wife I hear her fucking listening to fucking Taylor Swift and some other
Oh
fucking
god.
garbage that she listens in there,
Uh,
and country, which I don't mind country because at least some of it's
yeah,
got
she
some
listens to
fucking.
Willie Nelson and stuff, right? You
Yeah, we
can
went to see
deal with
Willie and it
that.
was killer. He is killer, dude. The guy's still fucking playing at 90 years old. You gotta fucking love that.
The weed saves, man, the weed saves.
Yeah, but
Um,
I haven't seen anything new come out aside from everything you mentioned, which is the obscure shit. If something actually good happens, I will be the first to announce it here.
there you go, and, how about shows, man? Because, like I said, we're gonna get Daniel Avenger on here from Nocturnal, so I don't know if you have any shows we can mention. I'm just gonna mention the one, but I'll let you go first, and I'll finish it off.
Well, and do yours because it's yours is this weekend. So do yours
Yes, I
first, and then we'll.
actually, was in contact with Dallas, this morning. Narcotic Wasteland, they're doing that Annihilation of the Wasteland tour, through Florida tonight, actually, which by the time people are hearing this tomorrow, that'll already be over with. They're playing at the Conduit tonight in Orlando. Um, and I know they're playing at, let me see here, let me see the next. So the Brass Mug for our Tampa people, that's going on. That's the 19th, right, Ed?
I believe that is
Yeah,
correct.
September 19th, the Brass Mug, $20 on Ticket Bud, $25 day of the show. It is Narcotic Wasteland is the headliner, of course, Internal Culling, which is, Donnie Hamilton's band.
Yep.
Yep. We know Donnie. A band called Mulch, Insectile, yeah. And let me see who else
Law of
here.
Casualty.
Law of Casualty and a band called Bad Backs.
Yep. That's what I saw too.
Yeah, that's 6 PM doors, 7 PM is the showtime. That's at the Brass Mug in Tampa, Florida, 1450 Skipper Road. And that's what I have for shows. And like I said, I know they're doing, so let me see, they're playing the Tipsy Tiki in Fort Pierce on the 18th. So I know that's the other show they're doing of that. They're doing 21 shows, I believe, in all, on this Annihilation of the Wasteland tour. I think they've played 13 shows already, maybe. I think they're playing like Ohio, New York, Chicago, North Carolina, South Carolina. I think they've already done those possibly, but they will be at the Brass Mug in Tampa. That's all I have for shows. And what do you have, Ed?
So at the Brass Mug on the 26th, if you want to see the real singer of Exodus, Zetro, Steve Zetro and his
That's
band
right, that
Zetro is
show is
playing 26th, 8 p.m., playing with his kids' band, Hatriot, Jetter, and Ambush. And $20 pre-sale, 25 at the door. Look at that. Show that's at $25. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Not like the
I
show
think the
last night that was
$5
$60 fucking dollars, man. I'm
the
sorry.
$5 show is now extinct, I believe.
Yeah, you can bank on that. And then I have at the Orpheum on October 4th, it is the Carnival of Death Tour, Cataclysm, Vader, Malevolent Creation, and Skeletal Remains, which that'll be a pretty killer show.
Yeah.
our boys in Malevolent are playing, obviously. Jesse and Ronnie.
Jesse and Ronnie, who you can hear on this show
You
a couple
can.
months ago. They both were on separate episodes, and
Yeah, which is
you know,
crazy.
yeah.
It, just worked out that way. And then the last one I have is October 11th, since I'm not going to go any further out, figure a couple weeks. But Dave Ellefson, Kings of Thrash, playing the Brass Mug.
And Jeff Young from the So Far So Good.
Yeah, it's actually kind of weird that they're going to be playing at like the Brass Mug. You would think Megadeth, Dave Ellefson would be bigger, but I guess not. I'm not sure of the bands because this one doesn't really show a whole lot of who's playing with them. But if you want to see Dave Ellefson and Jeff Young play, because I believe they're playing a ton of
I think it's a bunch of old
Megadeth
songs,
which I think that's killer, man. If honestly, I'm not a fan of why they got rid of them. I mean, I've seen a lot of people.
I know
do
Chris
their shit.
Poland was doing some of those shows too.
He
at one
was.
point,
I don't
but
know if he
think
still is
anymore. Yeah.
I think he might have there was a couple shows that popped up where he was that he might have did, but I'm not sure. But yeah, that's what I have right now.
There you go. And that's all we have. And I have to say too, we talked about albums. I did get my copy of the new Disaster record, and it's fucking killer. So I definitely want to thank those guys, Infernal and them. And as we said earlier, Infernal was on the show. So yeah, Ed, say we get to Avenger from Nocturnal. What do you think?
I'm good with it. Let's do it.
Cool. So yeah, we're gonna get to Daniel Avenger from Nocturnal. We had the drummer from Nocturnal on not too long ago, John Berry, which was a great episode, a great interview. So yeah, looking forward to talking to him, man. And before we bring him on, we'll play one of his other bands, Angel of Damnation. We're gonna play a song called "Warning from the Sky" that came out on Ethereal Blasphemy. Came out on Dying Victim Productions, 2021. So we're going to play that track, and we'll be back with Daniel Avenger of Nocturnal. This is Angel of Damnation with Warning from the Sky. We'll be back on the morgue after this track. And that was Angel of Damnation with Warning from the Sky, and we are joined with Daniel Avenger. We really appreciate you giving us your time today.
Yeah, thank you for letting me talk with you.
No problem, man. Thank you for letting us, ask you a bunch of old shit that you're gonna have trouble probably remembering some of it. But first of all, I saw you guys just got back from, which we were talking about before we signed on. You guys just played the Running Free Festival in Bulgaria.
Yeah, that was an awesome one. We also had the opportunity to stay a couple of days longer there, which is rarely the case. So it was nice to actually experience a little bit more of the country. It was also my first time in Bulgaria. John Barry has been there, I think, last year with Slaughter Messiah already. So you also did know the place. So yeah, it was an awesome lineup, awesome people, awesome hospitality. It was a really good time to be there. Just had a bit of problem when I tried to bring back my stuff to the hotel. I went like what I thought was a shortcut, but it was through the woods and totally dark. And then from my guitar case, the handle broke off. So a little bit of an adventure in the night. It took me and our bass player, who I called for help with my last battery of the cell phone. So it took us like 2 hours to get back to the fucking hotel, which was usually just 10 minutes walk if we would have gone the right way.
How did you like Bulgaria in general?
Oh, it's a nice country. It was the weather was crazy. It was like sunny all the time, and all of a sudden you had a rainstorm for like 15 minutes.
It's like Florida, believe it or not, man. Every day it rains for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, that was like about 2 or 3 times a day, like this. So, yeah. Later,
Did you
when we
guys-
were back in Sofia, it was not that crazy anymore. But yeah, it was not. I was been to Romania a couple of times, and I would say it from everything, the whole country was kind of similar. So nothing too new.
And you guys played what that show was, what Asphyx, Disaster, and you're friends with those guys, right? And Intoxicated was on there, I believe.
Yes.
Destroyer 666.
Yeah, we pretty much know most of those guys. So this Disaster, unfortunately, we just arrived Saturday and they played Friday. They had another show, I think, in Slovakia, on Saturday, so we did not meet up. But I happened to meet Husky, who was a former Disaster drummer, but now playing with Asphyx, so he was there Saturday. Haven't seen him in a while, so it was nice to catch up.
What is your favorite, like, out of all the summer festivals that you've done, like, what is your favorite?
Favorite to play?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a really good question. To think a little bit about that, because well, I would say in the recent years, I would actually say the Running Free Festival is on the top there, I guess. I just try to remember what we did last year. I think last year we also had to cancel a couple of shows. That was a bit problematic for health reasons. I think it also did not happen so much in the summer. So just some festivals I've been there as a guest, and yeah.
Metal Threat was canceled. I think it was last year it was canceled. Are you
Yes.
guys playing Metal Fest this year? I know you guys are on the bill, but obviously you've seen too that like a lot of the bands' visas have been declined and stuff like that. Has that happened? Or you can't mention it now?
Well, we just got the news yesterday that all the visas got denied. So it's not very public yet, but I know which bands are affected more or less. And it looks like basically every band who were going there on a visa basis. I don't know what's the real reason behind it because we got no explanation so far. Also, the organizer, he does not really know why. So it's a really big shit show, I would say. I really don't understand it because we still have appointments for the embassy here in Germany to have interviews for the visa thing. They are scheduled, and we just got the news from the organizer that the whole petition was denied. So right now, we really don't know why. Let's say like this. Well, we just know it will not be possible for us to come there.
Yeah, I saw Destroyer dropped off this week. A bunch of bands. Horn dropped off, I think, last night. They didn't drop off, but I think their visas were denied also.
Yeah, I guess that's the same fucking issue. Yeah.
So, yeah, and then actually, before we go into your history, which we always do on this show, you guys are playing a festival. Is it next week? You guys are doing another festival with Cobra and Ambush and Trance.
Yeah, that's a German festival here I've never been to so far. It's not even that far from here. It's like 2 hours from where I live by car. So we will see. We'll go there on the Saturday. Unfortunately, I will not see Trance because they are playing Friday, and I guess they won't stay around until Saturday either. So, but yeah, I guess I'm Cobra on the same day, and another band I would really like to see, Hartholz, which is like a East German metal band. And I did a cover song of theirs in the past, so I want to give the EP to them, which I did a cover song on them on as a present. We'll see if this happens or not. If I can manage to meet them.
And as I was telling you before we came on too, I appreciate you coming here. You've heard our show before, so you kind of know how we do it. And Ed's joining us now. We lost Ed for a minute. What's up, Ed? I don't know if Ed hears us.
I hear you. I got you.
How you doing,
I'm
man?
here. Good.
Oh,
Hello.
Daniel.
Good to meet you.
Yeah, Ed, this is Daniel. Daniel, this is Ed.
Hi, Ed.
Good to meet you.
And yeah, man, we'll start out, like we always do on here. So you're born in was it 1981? You're born in Germany?
1st of January 1982.
1982.
That's one day earlier. It would still be 1981.
And growing up, did you grow up in like a house that had a lot of music playing in it? Was your parents like listening to records, or were you surrounded by music at a young age?
Well, you could say so, since my father, he's a musician himself. He plays guitar. He was growing up in East Germany with blues and stuff like Neil Young, Rory Gallagher, stuff like this. But later he got big into country music, and that's what he's doing nowadays. Well, but he's retired now from work. Also, he's not doing music anymore. But for years, he was playing in a country band, doing cover songs and playing live. So I always had guitars around me.
Yeah, and I was going to actually kind of jumping ahead for a second. I had heard that your first time you got a guitar, you were given an acoustic guitar, and you were kind of not satisfied with the sound it was making.
Well, not really acoustic, but I asked my father to show me some riffs, stuff like this, and he showed me these kind of, I always call them Boy Scout riffs, because these are the songs you play at the campfire. And it did not sound like Sodom or Slayer. So I was kind of disappointed. And but it was not because it was an acoustic guitar. It was actually an electric one, but I had no distortion pedal or anything. So I figured that must be the problem. That did not sound like this. So then later I got like a distortion pedal, which was had even the name was thrash metal. So I thought, okay, that will be the one I need. So I took it, tried to play the same kind of stuff, and it also sounded like shit. So I was a bit disappointed first, and then I somehow put away the guitar for a while. We are talking about 12, 13 years old at that time, I would say. 14 maybe.
And when you're growing up in Germany, like, me and Ed are obviously from the States, and we were surrounded by like MTV in the 80s and 90s and stuff. Was that a big thing in Germany? Did you guys have like the television that kind of catered to, say, back, you're thinking then it might be like Saxon or AC/DC or whatever it is, but did you have that?
Well, we had MTV for sure, but we also had a German version of it called Viva. It's like also a music TV channel, and they also had like a metal TV show which aired once a week. I think it was always Wednesdays, something between 11 p.m. to 12. Like 1 hour of music videos and one guy being the VJ. And it was called Metalla. Later they changed the name to Virus, I think. It was usually like the stuff coming out in the time, and once in a while he also had like a Baffery One Road to Azerbaijan video in between all of it. Some of those shows were actually kind of cool because they had people like King Diamond there, like
hosting it.
Hosting it. I actually back then at the time I always videotaped them on VHS because my parents did not allow me to stay on that long for in a weekday, so I just recorded it and watched it later. Unfortunately, I don't have anything of those tapes anymore because there's some cool stuff. Because I also had one with Cannibal Corpse, I guess, and they were like also asking for stuff like Manowar, Gloves of Metal, and it's really sad it's not really preserved anywhere because I still have these memories of those things, and I never saw them anywhere else, and probably was just aired on this one time in German TV.
Yeah, we had, I remember, which Ed, you probably remember too, we had like King Diamond on Halloween host Headbangers Ball and stuff like that. And I actually have seen that pop up now on the YouTube, like some of the old footage and stuff, and really takes you back. What was the first like record or CD or tape that you personally owned yourself?
That's a really good question. For sure, nothing metal. I remember I had a copy tape of Thriller of Michael Jackson and a David Hasselhoff album, and I think a Roxette best of.
Yeah, because David Hasselhoff's huge in Germany, wasn't he?
Yeah, definitely. Looking for Freedom was on the radio all the fucking time.
Yeah, we even heard that in the States that he was huge in Germany. And did you have a lot of like local record shop options when you were a kid? And like, what were some of the ones that you guys were visiting in your area?
Well, we had like a electronic store, which were like getting the new releases on CD, no vinyls in the time. I'm talking about like 95 to, from that time on, because this was the time I was more or less getting into or being old enough to actually realize what's going on, let's say like this. But later, I think 97, 98, there was like a second-hand vinyl store in the city I went to school, and they were like selling whole collections of people who were like giving the collection to the guy to sell for them. And there you got a lot of good stuff, and it was like a very low price. It was way before eBay or Discogs or anything like that, so they just sold it to get rid of it. And to this day, I still bite my ass what I left there because I could not afford it or did not know at the time what it is. But yeah, basically what you should have done back then was getting a loan and just take everything.
That's an investment right back then. Now
Definitely.
did you guys have a lot of zines and stuff like that? Like I know it was like Loud and Proud, I think you guys had, and Ablaze and stuff like that. But were you getting into any of those magazines?
Yeah, Ablaze definitely, because you could buy it on train stations actually. And of course, Rock Hard and Metal Hammer. They were like the biggest two they are mainstream magazines.
We even had, Ed, we had Metal Hammer in the States.
Yes, we did. And Rip.
Yeah, I remember that. That Metal Hammer would pop up. What was the first show you attended as a kid?
Well, the first ones were local bands for sure. But the first bigger ones was Manowar in 97 and the Bang Your Head Festival, which I think had Iced Earth, Hammerfall, Gamma Ray, bands like that on the bill. This was also 97. I think I was 15 years old in the time, and this were like the first time we actually went out like 1 or 2 hours travel to go to a place to see a show. So these I remember very well. These were the two first shows I remember.
When you were in school, did you have, I'm like kind of reflecting to when we were kids, me and Ed, like in high school, you had the metal kids, right? Your buddies that you hung out with and stuff like that. Did you start seeing that happen in your high school too, where you're hanging out with like?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like when I remember when I went to, I think, what do you have before high school? What's that? Like
middle school we have in the States.
Or even that before the basic
preschool.
Like what you have before first to fourth grade. I remember
elementary school.
Yeah. So I moved to the city and went into the 4th grade. And there you already saw metal guys there at the school. And then we were like, oh, like, we were kind of interested. They look cool. What the fuck they're up to and so on. And, but later on, when I seriously got into this, they were like disappearing all the time. I don't know where those guys are nowadays. There's actually a funny story from these people, like especially in this village where I was living, because they had like a clubhouse or something in a garden in the middle of the city from one of their parents. And me and my friend, we were breaking into that house at one point and stole their cassettes. And they had like self-dubbed Tank Guard, Creator, Maiden, Accept stuff. And we just stole them because we thought, okay, it must be cool stuff. And I always tend to think they are not into metal anymore because I stole their cassettes.
You got them out of it. What are some of the venues you're going to? Do you guys have like, in your town? Exactly what town were you living in your teens?
I moved a lot because actually my parents, they are from East Germany. So I was born in East Germany. And we came to West Germany even before the wall came down. It was in 87. Actually, my parents, they were also in jail for a year. So I was living with my grandparents for a while. But let's say where I grew up most of the time was a city called Rosenfeld. It's like in the very south of Germany. There's a city close called Balingen. It's kind of known for the Bang Your Head festival, which is like I would say, for a time, it was the second biggest German metal festival after Wacken, I would say. And so that might ring a bell to some. And that's where I grew up. Balingen, also this where I went to middle school then. And this also was where the record stores were and so on. But I was living in a smaller village close to it. So yeah, venues, we had like a youth center there, but nothing really you could see shows really. But in this youth center, there were like local bands playing, but from all kind of music, from punk to classic rock or alternative, what the fuck ever happened there in the time.
It shows like, when do you realize like, hey, I want to be in a band? Like, we all have that moment because all of us have been in bands. You get that you just kind of know this is what you want to do. Did you kind of have that like what they call switch flick for you too?
I would not say I could really pinpoint it on something like, okay, that was the reason. But I think the moment I really went into learning instruments was pretty clear to me, okay, I will also want to do something with this. It's not like, because I had a guy in school who was a really good guitar player, and he tried to teach me at one point, and he was trying to teach me Dream Theater riffs. And I was like, what the fuck is this bullshit? This sounds like, but he's, yeah, but it's good to train the fingers and blah, blah. And this guy, he was a good player, but he could not write a good song or a riff if his life depends on it, And I was very early to realize I'm way better off just writing my own shit than learning the stuff of other people. So that's basically how I went forward with this.
Well, we talked about the acoustic guitar, that in the beginning of the interview, and you actually, you said you put the guitar down, but drums was, because you play drums, you do the bass, you do everything, you play every instrument. Exactly. Was the drums your next step?
I got what's called not communion, but the evangelic part, Konfirmation, it's in German. It's like when you are 14 years old. Confirmation, yeah. So this, when you're 14 years old, about this time, you go for a year, you go to those. But at the end of everything, it's like a celebration, and people give you money. So in the end, you end up with a lot of money as a 14-year-old kid. So and what I did with this was buying a drum kit, because I was my parents, they moved into a house, and that's at least how I remember it. My mother denies that, because I just recently talked to her about this situation. My parents also for a while had a band together, and for some reason she said, now we are living in a house, why you don't want to buy a drum kit and learn the drums? And this caught me a bit of surprise. And that's what I did. I went with my father somewhere buying a drum kit for that money, and then I practiced it. And later I figured out why they did this, because they had somehow the idea I could also play with them the drums. But
because as you've heard our show before, we always talk about this. You got 2 drummers in town usually and 1 million guitar players, right? I mean, it's every no matter where you are, that is the problem.
Exactly. But to be honest, I was practicing for like a year. I had never had lessons or anything. No one showed it to me, just the stuff I was listening to. I tried to somehow do the same, And I think I became pretty good in the time frame. But then also my father started to work night shifts, and he was sleeping until 3 p.m. And then my mother came home at 4, so I always had this time frame between 3 and 4 where I could really practice. And then also my father was like, that's not the first thing I really want to hear after waking up, is you smashing that fucking thing. And then I also started to lose interest a little bit because it was getting kind of stale, and I felt like, okay, I can't really progress here, and I also can't do much with it. So I picked up the guitar again.
Is that like 15 or 16?
Yeah, I bought the drum kit with 14, so let's say to 14 to 15. So 15 was when I get seriously into guitar, because then I got the songbooks of Kill 'Em All and Raining Blood. They were sitting around in the local library, so I borrowed them, and then I realized, okay, that's how this shit is supposed to be played, and it does not sound like the campfire songs. So
you're self-taught then.
Yes,
for the most part.
Well, those are my teachers, those 2 songbooks, Kill 'Em All and Raining Blood.
I think it was Infernal, Ed, right? Who said that Kill 'Em All, I think, was his. We had Infernal on from Disaster a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
I think he said Kill 'Em All was his tool too to learn.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, it's well, with the tablatures and so on, you actually realize, okay, what those guys are playing, and you pick it up from there somehow, and then it's with what you listen to. I think these are basically my teachers.
And then you decide to do your first band, right? Which is the first one ever is B-Style Desecration.
No, that was by far not the first one.
Oh, you had a band before that. What was your first band?
Well,
because Ed, he's got like 50 bands, just so you know, as you're going to hear tonight.
No,
so what was the first one?
The first thing I did was called Death Carnation. It was just a demo tape I recorded with my stereo, because it was a double tape deck, and you could record from one tape to the other, and you had a microphone input. And you could record what was on the tape of the left to the right, including whatever you put into the microphone input. And what I did was hanging a microphone over my drum kit, just improvising something, playing something, recorded it on tape. And then I was plugging in the guitar, the tape with the drums, recording it to the other. And so I added like guitars and vocals to it. Musically, this was like some grind stuff, was not really listenable, because also I went with the distortion pedal directly into the microphone input, so it sounded like bullshit. And the vocals is basically the same. It's a bit sad I don't have this recording anymore, because I also actually made tape covers and gave it to friends. So if there's anyone out there who has this, I would like to hear it again. But there are maybe 10 copies existing of this. So, and later, me and actually 3 of my other friends, we formed a band called Intoxication. So we rehearsed like 2 times in the basement of my parents, and we recorded 2 songs, and we had 2 bass players for some reason. So the only interesting part of this is probably that the singer guitar player, he was also the guy who was later the singer for Bassist Desecration.
Is that Florian?
Florian,
or Infernal?
Yes. Where he called himself Infernal Overkiller. Later.
Infernal Overkiller. So
Yeah.
where did you first meet him at from that band?
Well, I met him at school, actually. He was, when I went to Balingen, to the middle school, 5th grade, we were in the same class. So he was there. There's a picture of like a school picture, like with me and him, and he already has a Saxon sweatshirt. So So I didn't know. Okay, this will be my friend. So with him, basically, I discovered like all the stuff. Then what's like we were like. He also had a brother who was also into metal, who was later the drummer for Bestial Desecration. And yeah, we went from there.
Whose idea was the name Beastyle Desecration?
I think it was his idea, but I'm not too sure about that anymore.
The logo, who did that?
That was me.
See,
But I never was too satisfied with it, to be honest.
I like that logo, actually. And what was the first Beastyle Desecration song written?
I am not sure about that anymore. Which one was? Everything I would say would be a guess. I don't know. Something from the first demo for sure, of course.
Where were you guys rehearsing at to begin with?
We did not rehearse at all. The demo tapes were just recorded with me playing guitar. I did do drums with a Yamaha keyboard.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
With the percussion part of a Yamaha keyboard, because I could not figure out how to record drums properly. So I thought with just one microphone it sounds like shit, and I thought with this keyboard it sounds a little bit better. So, but there was no metronome or click or anything. I was just. It could even be I recorded the guitars first and then added this drum parts later. And there's no bass on the demo tapes. And then he just came and recorded vocals over it. And I think both first demos were recorded like this without rehearsing anything or whatever.
The first one was the Death and Destruction demo.
Yes, yeah, that was the first one.
That was six tracks, and you handling the lyrics at that time period?
Well, let's say like this. The lyrics were all written by Infernal Overkiller back then, because let's say I was the music guy and he was the guy for the image and everything. He had the lyrics ideas. He also was the one who was drawing the cover artworks. But the logo was made by me. I'm pretty sure about that. Yeah. And what was the question again about the lyrics?
I had read an interview with you in the past where you had said like it was kind of funny with the lyrics. I didn't know if you were writing the lyrics for this band at that time period. You always hear this from bands all the time who are like, well, I want the listener to interpret the lyrics. And I heard you make a comment once. You don't like that theory, like the whole, like, you just think that's a lazy response.
Yeah, I mean, but this, I think, does not apply for Best Desecration lyrics. I think this, I meant this in a, let's say like this, if the lyrics are like very vague in a sense, and are kind of what's the right word for it? Like blown out of proportion, let's say like this. And when I read it, it makes no sense. And then I can get, well, not angry, let's say like this, but to me, usually if you would maybe ask what the fuck you mean with this, you will get this kind of response. It's open for interpretation, blah, 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 blah. And I'm more like a fan of more direct lyrics. Like you know what it's about. I'm more like, I prefer that than just have a lot of swollen words which sound big and mean bullshit.
Makes total sense, yeah. And like you mentioned, you guys bring in Beastyle Aggressor on drums, and then you also bring in a bassist who went under the name Pork.
Yes. Well, that was just his nickname for some reason. I don't know. I don't remember how that came to be, but that's how we actually called him.
And you guys, what was your first show?
I think this was, that was probably in the youth center there. I think, well, I don't know, I'm not too sure if this was the first one, but I organized one myself with or was another local band who, because there was a local death metal band called Botomy. They were rehearsing next to us. Actually, in the time when we then later actually had a rehearsal room, and well, I think there were two shows. One where they invited us, and one which I organized, but was in the same spot. So I'm probably mixing both up. So, and we had a friend who was like somewhat of a fifth band member. And he always went on the stage with a ski mask on and like breathing fire and and one of the two shows actually we set up the fire alarm. So, and while we were playing, the lights went on, and like a fireman came inside and were trying to stop the show because they got an alarm and so on. And we got a pretty big bill for this bullshit because they yeah.
So is that so you mentioned you played in a couple other bands prior to this. Was that
Yes.
your first time playing a live show was with
Yes, yeah,
Desecration?
Yes. Yeah. Well, that completely first thing, this was just me recording this demo tape, nothing else. And this Intoxication band, we just rehearsed 2 times in the basement, and nothing else came out of that either. So this was also the first 2 Desecration demos were released before I ever set foot on the stage.
98,
So,
Death and Destruction, right? And then
yes.
Hell Strikes Back, that's 99?
I think no, it must be 97 and 98, or maybe they will record it a bit earlier and release a little bit later. I'm not too sure about that anymore, but sounds about right at this time. Yeah.
And that the second demo, you guys did 8 tracks, including a Destruction cover, and that's one of your favorite bands growing up was Destruction?
Yeah, as me and the singer, like we found the Sentence of Death EP in this record store, and we just bought it because the cover was so cool. And then we just figured, okay, we need to do a band and we just need to look like this. So, and that was the priority, and the rest was second. So, and somehow we really got into it, let's say like this. And also we were both big fans, and for this we somehow followed the same path, let's say like this. And then, yeah, like also when I actually really listened to like Eternal Devastation, for example, I realized this is basically the same kind of style I'm learning with the aforementioned Raining Blood and Kill 'Em All songbooks, because guitar style wise it's pretty similar, like with all the single note stuff and so on. And I realized this is my thing, and that's what I want to do.
You guys were also covering because you did a live tape, right? Live in Purgatory also you guys did, which had anal cunt covers on it,
Yes.
macabre covers and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's also stuff we really just liked in the time. And I must say also the singer, like he was a bit of an extreme guy, because I would say he was really the perfect frontman, because he is like a very dramatic person, and he's like the all eyes on me kind of guy, you know. Sometimes it became a little bit annoying, because he did a lot of shit to do that, let's say like this. And also, like, he was like putting needles in his arm because he saw like Sadistic Execution did this and stuff like this, and he picked up this kind of stuff there. There was a time he was like eating raw meat because he thought that's what this, because it's cool, you know. We just were hoping he would get fucking sick from this, and
Yeah, it's like,
but
Jesus.
apparently he did not. But okay.
99 period, you're also involved in a black metal band called Witch Slaughter with drummer Black Abyss and Winged Death.
Well, actually, I'm all 3 of those guys.
Oh, really? So it's like, yeah, because you have a lot of, that's one thing you're going to have to, like, tonight when we're talking to you, I know a lot of projects, and I've heard you talk about it, like some of your bands, you kind of tried to figure out what to do with some of the material you were writing, so you'd put it out on our different releases.
Yes. Well, let's say like this, when I listened to this tape today, I don't know what I was thinking, to be honest. I wanted to do something like the Beherit stuff, but I had no, well, the drums were like, I think, digital loops I downloaded from the internet or something. These were the drums. Like, it sounds horrible. But anyway, it was fun to do that, and yeah. I also, the logo and the cover artwork was drawn by myself, and yeah, I don't know. It's not really good, but it's funny from the time perspective when I did this. I think I don't know why I was even pretending to be a full band. I don't know.
Well, that was what, 11 tracks, and that's when Deathstrike starts your label. Is that when you kind of start doing that? Because that was released on that, correct?
Yeah, also the first two, I think also the Best Desecration and Front Piece demos I also did already. Like, let's say like this, I started distributing these tapes and getting more into tape trading with other bands and labels. And then I realized pretty fast, okay, maybe I just put a name on it. So, and also because I always got other tapes also to distribute and give to friends. So I don't know, it was like a natural evolution, I would say. And at one point I was just thinking, okay, I should give this operation a kind of a name.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that. At first, was it like to help out bands, but then eventually, like, so I know when we get to Nocturnal, like, eventually you start putting out stuff
Yes, yes.
legitimately, because like, and I'll get to that where you want certain things to look a certain way, like your vinyls and stuff like that. Is that kind of where it progressed?
Well, let's say like this came probably a lot later to realize, okay, sometimes it's good to have everything in your own hands, and that's something which you prefer, blah blah. But in this time, these were not thoughts I had. I would say, I did not even know who to ask to release something or whatever. When the first offers came in, this was way later. This in this time, end of 90s, early 2000s. I think this was basically just tape trading, or you just like the Best Desecration 7-inch, or also the first Nocturnal 7-inch. There would be no one I could think of who would have released this for us. So I thought it's best just doing it myself.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
And you also 99, you also do the Front Beast, which is like the black thrash band. With that band, what is it? So, 8 demos, 3 full lengths, 15 splits, and like 7 EPs?
Yeah, I never counted it, but there are 4 real demo tapes, I would say, and then later, I think, mm, not too sure. I think the first album was in 2006. I think. I'm sometimes mixing up the times here when it was, because sometimes stuff was lying around and I just released it a lot later. And I'm not getting really the right what exactly, but there's a lot of stuff which got released later on EPs and stuff like this.
Is that still active project with Front Beast?
Let's say on the average, I'm now recording 1 track per year. So I just recorded a new one, which will be on a split EP with a Colombian band, because I got the offer to do that, and I had like a song lying around which I did not really know what to do with it, and now I finished it. Still need to record vocals for it, and I think the last was the split EP with Grausamkeit, which was also just one song, and I recorded that one like 3 years ago. So right now I'm not actively writing stuff for that, let's say like this. But to me, this is like a very I need to be in the mood for something, and for Front Beast, I have a certain vision I want to do next, and somehow I'm not there yet.
Yeah, man, you do a lot. Like I said,
Yeah.
if we're gonna learn tonight, you do a lot of stuff. You know, and back to Desecration, B-Style Desecration, you guys did the demo in 2000, and then you do a 7-inch, which I'm actually gonna play a track from here in a second. You do Soldiers of Death, which you came out in Deathstrike also. Anything you could tell us about that track before I play it?
Well, we recorded this EP in the rehearsal room of Blizzard. It's also a German band. Um, the drummer and the bass player at the time, like they had like a 4-track analog recording cassette tape player, and that's where we recorded. What should I say about this? Well, something I could maybe reveal is we actually did re-recordings of 12 Best Desecration songs with Nocturnal, which will be released as a full album at one point in time. So Soldiers of Death is one of them who got re-recorded. So because I figured those demo tapes and also 7-inch, they were kind of cool, and the sound back then was very yeah, let's say not much listenable for most part. The EP, yes, okay, but the demos, I think they really suffer from a weird sound. So I figured it's maybe a cool idea to do something with those songs, and it ended up being a full album in the end.
You mentioned the 7 inches and stuff. Is this actually the first, because this came out in 2000, the 7 inches. Is that the first vinyl you did
Yes,
that you were on?
definitely. This was the very first vinyl.
Yes. Yeah, I'm gonna play, Soldiers of Death from, Beaststyle Desecration off the Soldiers of Death 7 inch that came out in 2000 on Deathstrike Records, and we'll be back with Avenger after this track. And that was Beaststyle Desecration with Soldiers of Death. So 2000, you decide, basically the band's done, right? And the reason you changed the name to Nocturnal is because you kind of wanted to separate it from those members that you were involved with prior.
Yeah, we had kind of a bit of personal problems in the time, so the band was falling apart. Let's say like this: the drummer and the bass player, like they were just friends we somehow forced to be in the band, so they never really were really much interested in playing music at all. So they lost interest very fast. So in the end, was me and the singer just left, and we had to look for other people. So for the time, we had the drummer of Blizzard playing for us. I think he played 1 or 2 shows with us, but everything didn't work out so well. Then we had a bit of private disagreements about certain things and blah. Because we were like 18, 19 years old in the time, and things were just like falling apart a little bit. So, but I was sure I want to continue this somehow. Also the same direction of music. So, but to me, the name was very much connected to this old circle of friends. So to me, it was a no-go to keep the name. So I thought I'd just do a fresh start with a new name, but same vision.
Do you, who comes, obviously you come up with the name Nocturnal. Where do you find that from? And then you did the logo also on that?
Oh, I have no fucking idea about how I came up with that name. It's somehow something I thought sounded cool. I don't know. Yeah, the logo was actually made by myself. Yes. So I'm actually glad how well this turned out. It holds up to this day somehow.
And the first Nocturnal release is 2000, a demo titled Rites of the Black Mass. And you mentioned earlier that you used a keyboard for the drums on that prior release. You did that again on this also, correct?
Yes, yeah, that's basically how I recorded also the best Desecration demos. Just the difference is I also recorded the vocals, and it actually has a bass track as well. Yes.
And two of those, and the two of those tracks were from leftovers, right?
Yes,
From Bastille Desecration.
And I also did rewrite the lyrics because they had lyrics before, so I just kept the titles and did write new lyrics because I was couldn't be bothered to ask the singer for the lyrics.
Something I want to cover now with this is that, and I've heard you mention this before. So whenever you hear Nocturnal, people call it black thrash, right? And for you, that's not how you see it. Or you've always seen it as a German thrash metal band?
Yeah, that was basically what I wanted to always saw the band as, this black thing. I never really understood where this was coming from. But to be honest, I don't care either. It's just a tag name. Like, it doesn't change the music one bit, how people call it. So for me, I'm fine. There was a time I was a bit, not pissed, but I don't know. I thought how people don't get what I want to do with this, and blah blah blah. But on the other hand, it's not me. Okay, I can just do something, and how people take it, it's not in my hands. And if they see it like this, then fine. I'm cool with this.
When you're doing Rites of the Black Mass, how many was it? Actually, 500 copies that were released? Is that correct information, or is that kind of just?
Yeah, I think the tape says 499.7 or something like this. Yeah, it's like, I think it's 500 copies.
And after this demo comes out, you begin to pursue your education also.
Yeah, I started it in 99, so it was exactly in the time the demo tape came out. Yes.
And that's where what's your major? You don't have to say if you don't want to, but what were you studying back then?
Well, it's I just know the German version of it, but it was a very early IT job. But I work for a big German telecommunication company. We basically do internet stuff for people. So that's where I still work today. So that's where I learned the technical side of what it takes to do that. So I did this for 3 years, and after this I went full-blown working there.
And that time period when you're in school, that's where you become friends with Oliver, aka Skull Crusher, right? At school?
Yeah, he was 1 year below myself. I think he came, I started in 99. I think he came late 2000, and he was 1 year below me. But we had like a house where we could stay over the week, because we came all from far away. So, and on the weekends we went home. So I was not in this house anymore because I already had a driver's license. I could go there with my car. It was not that far, but he was more from the south than even I was. So he was also in this house. And I just first saw him, like, there was a guy with a T-shirt which said on the back, "Teach children to worship Satan."
Yes, there's a Dwarves. There's a punk band named the Dwarves who have that exact same.
I think it was a Dark Funeral shirt, if I remember right.
The Dwarves have the same motto on their shirts.
I thought it was just funny seeing a guy there at work wearing this kind of T-shirt. It's like, okay, this must be my kind of guy. So anyway, we connected. We were friends, and so we also were like, because I had no one else I could do music with, so I thought, okay, let's give him a try. He wanted to do it. So we recorded a Slaughter Command EP with
at that house, right? You guys did that?
Yes, exactly. This was like in this, exactly.
And that had
because he had a computer where you could record with as well, and he was actually even better at it at the time than I was. So he took.
I was wondering too. I know you play drums. How come you didn't when you were doing those old demos? How come you didn't do the drums on those? You did the.
Actually, I'm asking this question myself as well, but I guess the biggest reason was because I had no idea how actually capture the drums in a way that you can listen to it. because nowadays I have like an 8-track recording device. I have a full set of microphones and stuff like this. But back then I actually had no idea how you could. I tried this with one microphone, but it always sounded like a boombox recording in the rehearsal room. So this didn't really cut it. So somehow I relied on this keyboard kind of stuff or the drum machines, because I had actually a Boss drum machine which I used for Frontbeast, and also on the Slaughter Command EP I think we also had programmed drums. It was also this Boss machine.
You guys do the Slaughter Command 7-inch, which has what, Force of Night on it and Slaughter Command. So Oliver did the vocals, bass, and some guitar on that?
Yes. Also I wrote all the songs. I think there's maybe one riff or something coming from him. The solo parts are from him, and he does the vocals. And I think he also recorded the bass. I don't think I did that. I think it was him, yes.
And then where do you meet Andy, aka Mayhem, and then Sven, which is Hellbastard?
I met them first time in a Hellbangers party. There was always a thing going called Disaster Metal Meeting. Was a bit outside of Koblenz in a small village. Was a barbecue place with a house, and they rented it, and you could go. Well, they made parties there. And it was for a couple of years. This was actually a very big thing. Well, maybe 100, 150 people came there, but it was the real people. So that's where I met them, actually.
You meet them, and then you leave school, and that's pretty much when Oliver's time in Nocturnal's over?
Well, let's say like this: he was always more the death metal guy. So he had he usually played a 7-string guitar and played stuff like Morbid Angel. This was more his stuff. And he was also living far in the south. And yeah, I was leaving my educational part of the job, and I had to be a bit flexible to keep the job, and like everything was pointing to moving, because the part where I could find to actually work, where I now had those 2 guys I wanted to do music with, and I had a girlfriend also from that area. So everything just pointed in that direction, moving a bit more north. And that's basically where I still am today.
Where you and Mayhem and Hellbastard jamming at early days?
Well, they had actually already a rehearsal room like around the corner where they were living. They already had a band called Stone Cold, and they were, I think they had some own songs, but they basically did cover songs of Metallica, Misfits, yeah, maybe Exciter, I don't remember. Yeah. But I think they did not have a guitar player anymore. I think they had a disagreement with the guy, and then they kicked him out, and then it was just a drummer, and his brother was the singer, and in this time he was still playing bass, or he was, let's say, trying to play bass. And so it all came together. They were looking for someone, I was looking for people, and so, and at the time it looked like we were like heading in the same direction, so it was a perfect fit.
And it's the first recording you did with those guys. It was so you guys did a 2001 promo tape, right? And the EP Thrash with the Devil, which is like what?
Yeah, it's actually the same.
I was going to ask you, is that the same exact sessions?
The promo tape. One of the brothers did this tape, but it were the recordings of the Thrash of the Devil EP. Yes.
You guys recorded that at Stormhunter Studio?
Yeah, that was a band I was playing in for a year when I was still in the South. They were a local band, like a heavy metal band, which were friends of mine. They were looking for a second guitar player to play some live shows, and so I rehearsed with them. And they also had a bit of recording equipment in the rehearsal room, and that's where we recorded the
first battle demo that you played on that, right?
Actually, I'm not too sure if I played on that because I know I recorded guitars for it, but I remember the other guy, he wasn't too satisfied with what I did there somehow. And later, when I got the ready tape, I listened to it and I was like, I'm pretty sure I did not play it like this. So I'm kind of thinking he did re-record my parts. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, but there's a live cover of Breaking the Law on it, and I'm pretty sure I'm playing on that one, so I'm fine with it.
You leave the band in 2002? That one?
Yes, because I was moving, but it was clear from the start. I told them, okay, as long as I'm still here, I can do that. But when it looked already in the time, I did know I will probably leave soon to move, and so it was, yeah, pretty clear from the start. I will not stay long. But the Stormhunter, I think they're still existing today. They're still going, so in a different lineup. So just also the main guy is a guitar player, and he's the only original member left with other guys.
And also, 2002, Hellbastard brings Vomiter into the fold, the bassist. So, is it true that the first time he ever played bass was in the band room with you guys when he first came to the band?
Well, let's say like this: when we were looking for a bass player, they were like, "Okay, we know this guy. He already played in cover bands and blah 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 blah." That's how they sold it to me. When I told him this story later, he was, no, that was totally made up bullshit. The first time I hold a bass was when I was in the rehearsal room with you guys.
And that was Odin's bass. We actually had Odin was
Yes.
actually hanging out on the show a couple weeks ago.
That was his bass. Yeah, he got it from Odin for sure. Yeah.
Ed, me and Ed always say this about, like, whenever we talk, it all comes in a big circle. Like, but yeah, we just had Disaster on. Odin popped on the show too, and yeah, that was he used Odin's bass when he first jammed with you guys, and actually now he plays with Possession out of Belgium. I think that's a killer band also.
Yes. Well, he totally fits this band. That's he's the guy for this band for sure.
Yeah. So, and also in 2002, you guys add the Italian guitarist Jex. How does she become involved?
Well, we also met her at one of those disaster metal meetings. I think it was basically in the same time Vomitor was coming in the band, because this was our first live lineup with Jessica. That was her full name, and him. I'm not too sure if the first rehearsal was with both of them, but yeah. So that's how she came in the picture. She was living in Germany at the time, and she was also looking for a band.
What is the first official Nocturnal show, would you say?
Well, I have 2 posters here, which are from 2002. One was with Metal Inquisitor in a venue called Florenzmarkt here in Koblenz. It's a very long-going metal bar here. And there's another one in the it's the venue where the disaster rehearsal room was. And they also did put on shows there. It must be either one of the two.
Yeah, because you guys, 2002, you guys played Metal Up Your Ass, one open air festival, Hellbangers, which we talked to, the Hellbangers Fest with Pentacle, Gospel of Horns, and Urn, and Barathrum.
Yeah.
And you guys were also doing shows with Hatework, Chaos Engine back then and stuff.
That was in Switzerland. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
And we mentioned Hellbangers. So were you part of that? I know what Vomiter was, Hellbastard was.
Yes, everyone.
Mayhem.
All 3 of them except me.
And what are some of the venues early on you guys are playing when you guys first start doing shows with Vomiter and Jex?
Well, yeah, basically what you pointed out already. I don't remember. There's another show I've here with Disaster, Dark Creation, Blizzard. Oh no, this was still with Best Desecration. Fuck, no, I'm mixing things up. No, venues. I don't think we did really go that far. Well, let's see. I remember one show we played in the very north of Germany in Itzehoe, next to where Wacken is. There we played with a Finnish band called Solitaire. I remember that one because this was kind of exciting because you had to drive like 8 or 9 hours to get there. And I think we also played in Berlin once a show which was set up by Patrick von Iron Bonehead Records. And this was, I think, with Blasphemophaga, Baphomet's Blood, and Hatred, also Italian bands. And but could be this was maybe a bit later, but I think it was also pretty early. Berlin and this show in the north. yeah, the rest was more or less local.
When's the first time that Nocturnal actually left Germany?
Was probably somewhere in Holland. This was I think we played with Tankard there once in maybe 2003. I would say this was Holland. And yeah, Switzerland. The Hatework thing was Switzerland. This was 2002. Yeah, but that's what I would say. Like the first time flights were involved was probably Portugal. Then we played there in Porto. I think this was the first time we went a bit more far.
Was the first release with Jackson Vomiter the live album, Burning of Ronstadt?
Yes, that was just a tape recording we had of one of the shows, and I somehow did think it's a good idea to put it out on a tape. Yeah, let's say, yeah.
That show was at the Black Inn in Germany?
Yes.
In 2002?
Yeah. That was also not far away. It's a bit north of Frankfurt, the venue. I think it was a show with Zarathustra, Eternal Pain, and 2 other bands. I just remember we went on very late, like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I think after us, Zarathustra was still playing. So this was really, I don't know why it became so late, but I just remember it was.
And you guys, and also you did a 4-way split, right? With B-Style Mockery from Sweden, Vomiter out of Australia, and Toxic Holocaust out of Portland, 7-inch.
Yeah.
That's 2004?
Yeah, sounds about right.
Came out on Joel Grind's record, Witching Metal.
Yeah, he basically did put the whole thing together. Yes, he got all the bands for it, asked us if you want to do something for it, and we especially we recorded one song, Thrash Attack, in the same session as the Fire of Revenge 7-inch. We recorded that one as well for this 4-way EP.
I'm actually going to play Thrash Attack here in a second. And you guys, that came out again on Nuclear War, didn't it? On 7-inch in 2005?
Yes, I think he did a second pressing of it later. Yes, and another like the cover was just a different color.
And you guys also in 2004 you did another split with Toxic Holocaust, right? Thrash Beast from Hell.
Yeah, that was just a tape from Witchhammer Productions in Thailand. That's basically also the Thrash of the Devil EP. Nothing
rehearsal
special.
Tracks.
Yeah, and 2 rehearsal tracks or something like this. Actually, this release is a bit weird because the cover artwork he just chose himself without asking us, and the titles are completely wrong. And inside there are pictures of tanks and stuff. It's a bit weird. I just remember Joel was a bit pissed about this because he used his old logo still, and he wanted him to use the new one. But okay, it is what it is. It was basically for to be spread in Thailand. That's how things work there, how it seems.
Well, I'm going to play Thrash Attack, the one that was recorded in 2003 from the Outbreak of Evil 4-way split that came out on Witching Metal Records in 2004. And I'll be right back with Avenger after this track from Nocturnal. And that was Thrash Attack from Nocturnal. In 2004, you guys are doing shows with Dead Spawn, Eternal Pain, Blood Moon, Vision of Hate. In 2004, you also put out the Fire of Revenge 7-inch single on a
Yes.
label out of Massachusetts, B-Style Onslaught Productions.
Yeah, exactly. He was actually approaching us. He wanted to work with us. I think the label was pretty much starting in that time. I think he did a split album of Abigail and Barbatos, I think, before, and some other stuff. And yeah, he asked us if we can work with him, and that's what we did. The 7-inch.
There was a guest appearance on that CD from Dennis, aka Hurricane Hellfucker from Chapel of Doom.
Well, he was back then the singer of Zarathustra. And he's also the guy who's doing the Hellpike magazine, if you don't know if you know that one. And yeah, he's, well, let's say like this. We recorded a Living Death cover song on this EP. And there's a version of it where he is doing vocals. But as far as I know, this version was never released. I think
Yeah, never released, right?
he did it
I saw
just
that.
because he wanted it for himself, because he's a big Living Death fan, and as he heard, we want to do this cover. And he lives around the corner, so he just came to studio and he did record it one time with his vocals. I'm not even sure if I own this version, to be honest.
2004, also you and Hellbastard also become part of Angel of Damnation.
Yes, that's another thing. I had those two songs which I wrote, which were like in the Pentagram, Candlemas, Black Sabbath style, and I just wanted to do something with it. And Hellbastard was on board right away. So we recorded it in the rehearsal room, and then I was like, okay, who we could ask for to sing it. And then I asked Gerrit, like the singer of Sacred Steel. Back then, I met him actually in this Bang Your Head festival. Well, I didn't know him
That's
before.
Doom Cult.
Yes,
He
that
goes under?
he goes as Doom Cult Messiah. Yes, and he after a couple of beers, I just asked him if he would do this. And he said, "Yeah, why not? Send me the songs, and then I will see what I can do." And then he went. Well, he was working for Metal Blade in the time, and he was in the. And he had somehow they had a tape recorder, a 4-track recorder in the basement of the office. And then I think he was there recording the vocals for this EP. And maybe he thought this will be a one-off thing, but in the years I just came up with more and more material, and so far we are still doing this.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. You guys that's still a project that's ongoing.
Yeah, it's
2025, right? You guys just put out something on Dying Victims.
yes, like the last there was a new album just recently in July, and like during the interviews for this album, like the people pointed out like if there's like a grand scheme of things, because there's always 7 years between the albums and blah blah. I was like, I was not even aware of that. It just happened that it's like that. So there was no plan behind this. It just takes time, and when I feel like doing something with it, I do it. So now is the time for it. We also have now a couple of live shows scheduled for November and next year as well. So I'm actually looking forward doing something with this live again, because the last time we played was 2018. That's quite a while ago now already.
With Nocturnal 2004, Jex leaves the band. So she played on the 2004 live album, the 2004 Outbreak of Evil split, the Fire of Revenge 7-inch. So first of all, she didn't speak German, correct? And she's only spoke a little bit of English?
Yeah, communication was a bit complicated, let's say like this. So, and that was one of the main reasons why there were misunderstandings and problems. And another thing was she was also living not so close, and she was also dependent like on her back then boyfriend to bring her to the rehearsal room. And yeah, let's say like this, we were also very limited in the time we could rehearse, and somehow we always had problems like scheduling
No full band
things.
jams and stuff.
Yes, and don't want to get too much detail here, but let's say like this, back then we thought it's the best idea to just cut this with her, like Yeah, let's say like this. Today I'm not too sure if it was the most fair way to handle this situation, but back then, when you are young, you handle things differently. Let's say like this. Yeah.
And she's playing for Terrorazor now. She's like 2012, correct? Guitar.
Yes, I'm not too sure what she's really doing nowadays, because I think this is also an Italian band, and I think she's living in London since quite a while now. Not too sure what she's doing music-wise at the moment.
You guys decide to go on as a 4-piece after that. Yeah, and you guys put out the debut full length, Arrival of the Carnivore, 10 tracks. So it took what, a year to write this record?
Yeah, to write or not to, well, I think some of the material was already there before the Fire of Revenge stuff. But I think most of it was created in the time in this year. Yeah, let's say. I know there were a couple of things even still unfinished when we were in the studio. So we were even trying out a little bit here and there. It was not a fully rehearsed thing, let's say like this.
And you mentioned the studio. You guys worked with Willie Wardorf from Toxoplasma
Yes.
at Toxo Music Studios. How was that? Because I know you worked with them again in the future, which we'll talk about too. It wasn't the first time, but that was the first time, correct?
That the Fire of Revenge EP was the first time we recorded with him. So, and we got the recommendation by Tormentor from Disaster, because he said to us, you guys, if you ever want to record something, go to this guy. He will be the right guy for you. So, and we were, yeah, of course, because it was not far from where we were, and we did not know where to go anywhere anyway. So he was the first address we went to. And yeah, I would say when I listened to all the free recording sessions we had with him, I think the Fire of Revenge EP is actually my favorite from the sound wise. It somehow went downhill from there, I think. But yeah, but we were also young, unexperienced, did not really know what we are doing there. And he's more, let's say, he's not really a producer kind of guy. He's more like the guy who's he records you, but I think you have to have a really good vision of what you want to do and make sure you are prepared and know what you do. And I think that's the only thing I would say wasn't probably not so good with him, because he did not really tell you, okay, maybe we should try it like this, or maybe you should do it that. And that was a bit the guidance we probably would have needed in the time. So, but yeah, but as I said, we had not much choices anyway, so I'm all good. In the end, everything sounds good enough that you can listen to it. All good.
How many days did it take you to record that one? The Carnivore full
I
length?
think it was a week, 7 days. I think we did the drums in 2 days, guitars in 2 or 3, bass also. I think it was a full week recording. And I think the mixing, I think we were not even there. I think he did this himself and just sent us the mixes to comment on it.
The intro, I think at that time period, you guys got a 3-minute intro on there, Covenant Darkness, which the intro was kind of different than what other people were doing at that time period in 2005.
Well, this was actually the idea of Hellbastard. He said, what do you think about doing an intro like a horror movie intro? So, and he said, I figured something out on the keyboard, and he was like, I can play this and blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, okay, why not? So to me, yeah, it's there, but if it would not be there, I would also be good. I don't know. Yeah.
And are you a horror movie fan?
Let's say like this. I had the time in my teenage years. I had a friend who had an uncle who had a huge horror film collection. And in this time, we were always sitting around, because he was always away working in the week, and we were hanging out in his uncle's apartment and watching all those brain dead, bad taste, violent shit stuff.
Did you guys get your hands on, remember, Ed, what was it, Faces of Death? Which
Yeah,
every kid in America, that was like, we
Yeah,
all thought that
this-
was the original snuff film, so to
Yeah,
say.
Faces of Death. Yeah, Evil Dead stuff, the Fulci movies, zombie movies, Dawn of the Dead, all of this. He had everything of this. He had also some really weird stuff which looked like homemade. I remember we watched a video once which was really disturbing. It was just a guy in candlelight who was like putting matches in his penis and putting it on with the lighter, and was just making strange noises. And we were like watching this, like,
What the fuck?
And there was also a video of a guy who was like doing fight scenes with Lego figures. And then he cutted it, and then they were lying there with ketchup on it, and he was like talking, making the different voices of the figures. He was like, I don't know what's more disturbing, what I'm watching there, or what, or should I be more afraid of the guy who did this? Yes.
Great. And that was the first time. Is that the first time you guys worked with Chris Van Rimp?
Yes. Yeah, I straight up just got his contact, wrote him if he would be interested in doing the cover artwork, and that's what he came up with. We gave him a basic idea, and that's what he delivered.
And now at this time period, 2005, are you having Mayhem do the lyrics for the records?
Actually, they are just, to be honest, the first time I really got into who did what was when we did a recent re-release of the album, and I for the first time wanted to include the lyrics. So I realized for many of the songs I did not have the lyrics anymore, so I had to try to figure them out by listening to it. Like most of them are from me. I did them. Some 2 or something are from Mayhem, I think. And and there was like 2 lines I couldn't figure out what he was singing there, and so I had to contact him, or I did contact his brother to ask if he can ask what the fuck he was singing there, because I don't want to guess. So yeah, but the lyrics are from me, most of them.
And at that time, you wanted to put it out on Deathstrike, your label, right? But you knew you didn't have the budget to really get the right promotion and stuff like that. So what you sent it out to some people, and then you heard back from Roman from Beyond Productions out of the Netherlands.
Yeah, first of all, I absolutely did not want to do it myself, but we had no other. Yeah, well, let's say like this: we got this offer from Roman. He somehow heard we want to do an album, and then he offered doing this with From Beyond, which was like a sub-label of Displeased Records. He was like taking care of at the time, or was starting in the time, let's say like this. And he was offering us doing it. And so I was very fine with it. But for some reason, they did not want to do the vinyl or something, just a CD
Because you did
version.
the vinyl.
Yes, and that's the reason why I did the vinyl, because they did not want to do it. But somehow because all the other releases they did were basically just vinyl only. So somehow I don't know why this came to be. Maybe I'm also mixing something up. I don't remember, it was so much. But anyway, they funded the album, they paid for it, and released the CD. And we had a contract with them, which I regretted for years doing that. Let's say like this.
In that same time period, I mean, like I said, you can always answer what you want, what you don't want. But 2005, you also become a dad for the first time?
Yes, actually, when we were in the studio to record Arrival of the Carnivore, I got the news that I will be a father. Oh, this was in July 2004, I think we were in the studio.
And you're also not doing many shows at this time period, because Mayhem also joins Witchburner in 2005.
Yeah, the main reason why we did not do much shows was basically because I became a father. Like, I want to concentrate this first, prioritize this. But to be honest, there were also not much offers back then. That the album came out did not really change much for us at the first, I would say. It was 2 years later, I would say, you could really somehow see that something came out of that. But
Yeah, you starting to, is that what? So like 2 years later, you're starting to get mail from like out of the country. You're starting to see that the band's starting to catch on. You were into tape trading when you were younger. As you know, that's how you start kind of learning about the bands. And are you starting to see like mail come into you?
well, yeah, I always had that going, also with the label and stuff. I always did this, so it was not like I did not know what's going on. But let's just when on things Nocturnal, like I wouldn't say, and especially on the live front, I wouldn't say that the album came out did have an impact on anything on the live front. Like we got more offers for this or something. I think this was just catching on a little bit later, like a year or two. Well, yeah.
You guys do 2005. You also do the split with Nunslaughter, Cryptic. You guys put out the Temples of Sin 7-inch that came out on an Illinois label, the Infernal Thrashing. Then you guys do, which is, I mean, obviously 2005, the Nocturnal B-Style Desecration split, Thrashing Rage. You guys did that, which is what, old live recordings from B-Style Desecration from like 2000, and then for you guys, it's like rehearsals.
I think it's a rehearsal recording. Yeah, both Nocturnal stuff and the Best Desecration stuff are both rehearsals, I think. Yeah, no, I think you're right. The Best Desecration part, I think, is a live show. You are right. Just the Nocturnal part is rehearsals.
And that came out on Iron Fist?
Yeah, I think that was
a
Chilean label, yes. He was releasing it, yeah.
And, you know, Mayhem eventually leaves. And when do you start thinking to yourself, you know, hey, that we might have to make a change? Because he was on everything, right? Besides the Rites of the Black Mass to that point, I think he was on everything you guys had done for Nocturnal.
Yeah, let's say like this: when we had the first real lineup, full lineup, he was there, the singer, yes. So for the early stuff, for sure. Yeah, let's say like this: he was also joining Witchburner, yes, and that already was a bit. The schedules were overlapping, but to be honest, for myself, this was not the only reason, because I kind of had also a bit of, let's say, not personal problems, but let's say we could not get so well along together. So I somehow thought it's the best idea to ask him to decide for a band. But to be honest, I was pretty sure he was deciding for Witchburner. So.
And then you do another 2006. You also do a black metal band, which I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this name right, but it's Cesarlum.
Shalem, yes. It's like
you guys do 2 full lengths, and like you guys do a bunch of releases for that also.
Yes, yes. I tried to do something like the old Polish black metal stuff, like very lo-fi and very atmospheric. So that was the idea with it. Also, the name is like it's the name of a troll-like figure in Polish mythology, not mythology, a saga of people who work underground. So, and it's like there's a demon who is like watching you, and he's grabbing your back, and he's like biting you from behind. So that's the name of this demon called Shalem.
Like you guys did what, 2 full lengths? You guys did Night of Blood 2008, Black Medieval Battle Hymns in 2013, and you guys did 2 demos and 3 splits and 2 EPs. But when you first did that, was that intended to be a front piece release?
No, it was supposed to be a front piece release and not something else. Yes, I did the first Shalem demo was supposed to be front piece recordings, but it turned out completely different from what I had in mind for front piece. So, and this time I figured I'd probably do something else with it and go 2 separate paths, like go more the lo-fi way with Shalem and go into what I want to do with Front Beast later in another direction. So, and that's where like both split into 2 different things.
And also 2006, you also put together Terrorazor, which you guys, again, have done it was like shitload of releases. I think 10 demos, I counted 9 splits, and a full length in 2016. I'm actually going to play something from that band in a moment here.
Yep.
But what can you tell us about that? Because it's been the same lineup, am I correct, since 2014, which we'll talk about Invoker eventually too, him and Benjamin. But is that the same lineup that you still have?
No, actually not. It's the drummer left, We have a new guy now. We actually have a new album to be recorded. I have like 14 songs ready to record. And so there will be a new album eventually, but there were so far just problems to find the right time to record the drums, because the guy who's supposed to, he's the drummer from Nocturnal-From, and he lives in East Germany, but he recently moved to Bavaria for work reasons, and he still has no rehearsal room where he can set up his drum kit. And so we already had a date to record it, but somehow we could not go through with it. So now we postponed the recordings. So, but there's something on the horizon for this. Yes. And all the demo tapes and everything I just did myself. Was just me.
I was going to ask you, when you do this, and when you guys do the next full length, is you going to go on Deathstrike, or are you going to be looking for another label?
Actually, we have the offer to do it again on Self-Made God from Poland, who also did the first one. Just last year I had contact with the guy, and he asked what's the status of the band. And I told him, we have plans to do another album, and he's interested to release it again. So as soon as we have to actually show something, I will get in contact and see if this is still going. And if not, I will find someone else. I most likely won't do it myself.
I'm going to play something from Terrorazor now. I'm going to play Inhale Death from the Abysmal Hymns of Disgust that came out in 2016. Anything you could tell us about this track?
Not much. Let's say like this. In general, the whole album was just materialized because I had a drummer with Skull Splitter who was also in the time in Nocturnal. I figured, okay, with him I can actually achieve the band in a way I really imagine it, because I already put it away for a couple of years. After 10 demos, I realized, okay, I won't go anywhere with it, with my abilities on the drums. So, and that was the only reason why we did this album at all. So, and that's, but especially to the track, I have nothing to say.
We're going to play that right now. We're going to play Inhale Death from Terrorazor, and we'll be back with Avenger after this track. And that was Inhale Death from Terrorazor. And that in 2007, another band, which we actually were going to close out the show with Guided by Two Moons this evening later on. But 2007, you also formed the black metal band Black Priest of Satan with vocalist Molester Kadotas.
Yep. Yeah, he's a guy from Finland. I met him when I was there once to see the first Blasphemy show in Europe. It was taking place in Helsinki. and I met him there. I think I even met him before because we played with Nocturnal also in Tampere once with Flame, I think, in 2007. And I think he was there as well. Anyway, we always had contact, and I always liked his vocals and also his kind of clean vocals. I didn't know he can do that. And at one point, I had the idea to do this doomy black metal thing and asked him if he wants to do the vocals for it. And that's how we went with that.
You guys put out a demo in 2007 titled The Black Candles Burn, an EP in 2008 titled Full Moon Rituals, an EP We As Shadows of Satan in 2010, a split with Crucifixion Wounds out of Germany in 2015, and then the full length in 2016. What is the status? And no shows with that band.
No, because it's just us two guys. I'm doing the instruments and he's doing the vocals there in Finland. So, but yeah, I don't think there's coming anything anymore. I think there's right now no intention to do anything new. I would not say never, but at the moment, I think we both don't feel like doing it.
And you also did another band in 2006 that I forgot to mention, Exorcism. You guys did one demo, 4 splits. Is that still a thing, or is that just another, like, a side project?
Yeah, pretty similar situation. The guys I did this with, one of them moved to Finland. So, we don't have much contact at the moment. At least we can't do music together. Let's say like this. This somehow also just faded away a little bit. But also would not say there's never coming anything again. When the right time is there, the moons align, maybe. I know there are still recordings which are unreleased, and we always wanted to do something with that, but somehow we didn't get around actually figuring out what to do with it.
Actually did the heavy metal bands, which hopefully I'll say the name right, Scalare?
Yeah, that sounds about right, yeah.
No, you guys did Masters of All Evil demo in 2008. You did an EP in 2010, 2 splits in 14, and 2 more splits in 21. A full length titled Edge of Darkness in 2016, full length in 2022, titled Hell's Domain. And then what is the status? Is this kind of like another thing that you go back to once in a while when you get that vibe, and then when not, you just kind of put it to the side?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, that's basically my traditional heavy metal thing. There's nothing planned at the moment with it. Well, that's actually not true. I just remembered I just did record guitars for 2 cover songs a couple of days ago. Which
what are you covering? Or you don't have to tell us if you don't want to say.
Well, I can. I did. I want to do a cover of Moonlight Shadow of Mike Oldfield and Entre dos Tierras from Heroes del Silencio. So take it or leave it.
So you got that. Then back to Nocturnal, 2007 was what you did, a split with Armor out of Finland that came out on German label Thrashing Rage Records, was it?
Yeah, that's actually also my label, if you want to say. This is what I do all the Nocturnal stuff on.
And you guys did a 7-inch for that. And also part of a 6-way split on Hell's Headbangers, 12-inch, which is In the Sign of Sodom. How do you get involved with Hell's? Because I know what's on that one, it's Toxic Holocaust, Suicidal Winds, Martin Missy and the Protector, which we had Martin Missy on here a couple months ago, actually, Beastile Mockery and Vomiter. So how did you guys get involved with Hell's? I'm figuring you have a label, so you're probably trading with them and stuff.
Yes, I've pretty much do business with them since the start. So I always was in contact with Chase about these kinds of things. And but especially this release was materialized by the singer of Bestial Mockery, because he was putting the compilation together, asking all the bands for it and so on. And so that's why we also ended up there. And I think they also were on Hell's Headbangers in the time, so it was just a natural thing to ask them to release it, and that's what they did. Yeah. I just
You guys
wish we would put a bit more effort into our part of the compilation, because what we did was just taking a live version, which was recorded on a VHS tape.
Oh, that's the hell was recorded. That's the VHS recording.
Yes. Yeah, well, it's a camera recording, but I took the audio from the VHS. So that's just this.
But you guys, all Hell's Headbangers, you guys put out a split with Pagan Rights too, right? 2008.
Yes.
Rise of the Undead. You guys had a live version. That and what? Merciless Murder too.
Yes. Well, it was the Rise of the Undead, and I think Tormentor we also recorded there, because we recorded those songs in the rehearsal room of Disaster. Actually, it was Husky and Infernal who were like recording this for us. Yes, was the session for those songs.
Are you a fan of splits?
Well, I like them. I know many people they are annoyed by it, but somehow I think you could say I'm a fan of splits. Yeah.
I always dug them, man, because that's how you find out about bands on the B side that you may not know, or whatever side.
Mhm.
I mean, look at we're talking Ed earlier about Nunslaughter. Like, I mean, there's a lot of splits. Like, I think that they may hold the record. I don't know, but
yeah, it's either them, Sabbath, or
Yeah,
Agatocles. Let's fight it between those three. Let's yeah.
2008, you guys also make another change in the band. You get Tyrannizer, right? Takes over on vocals. How does she get involved? And did you know her from the days of Necrosadistic Goat Torture?
No, I did just know that she played in that band after that. Yeah, the other guys, they met her somewhere. And when the singer situation came up, we need someone else. Well, for a time, there was Oscar from Old singing for us.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. What period was that?
Yeah, it was 2007 to 2008, I think. It was for about 1 year. But he was pretty clear that it will be just session-wise, for we don't need to cancel shows and so on. And yeah, it was cool with me. And there was also a moment where he would have probably became a full member, but then Old became active again. And then he said, nah, he can't do it. You want to focus on Old, which is fine by me. So and then Tyrannizer came into the picture, and yeah, we went from there. Like, she was a great fit, like in attitude and everything. She was perfect for us.
What was her first show with the band?
Too sure which was the first one, but I probably there was this episode with Salzen of Deathhammer when he talked about this first show in Germany. I'm pretty sure that must have been that show, because we played with them. And it was like here, like 1 hour from where we live here, in Pforzheim, I guess. And I remember they came into the backstage room and Salzen already just had one shoe.
He was a trip. And how many beers did Sergeant Salston have on our show? I mean,
I stopped counting.
It was like
a lot.
Yeah, he was great. And at that time period, who were some of the bands so 2007, say 2008, 2009, you guys, I know Disaster, Flame, like Death Fist, Heretic. What are some of the other bands you guys are playing with that did you guys have like that, in Florida, we had bands that you kind of have that brotherhood with. I always ask this because, we had certain bands that we would play with often. Did you guys have that too at that time period?
Yeah, I was probably always connected to the Disaster guys, I would say. And around the Hellbangers, like Metal Inquisitor was a band we probably played more than once with. And also a band like Ketzer later we played a lot with. Gospel of the Horns. Well, okay, that's not actually true. They did like a free date farewell tour. We played with them, so probably for this it feels a bit, because it was 3 shows we played with them. But this was also later, I think 2011 or something.
And also in 2009, you were also in another band called Phantom.
Yeah, that also was just a one-off thing, which I just recorded and just asked someone to if he can contribute vocals to it. It was a guy from a black metal band called Shatan, and he is also a Hellbangers member. So
you guys did it to one EP, right? 2009?
Yes, that's the only thing we ever did. I think, if I'm not too mistaken, I still have, probably don't have it anymore, but at one point I did more recordings with it, at least one song. But I think, how I remember it, it sounded completely the same.
And when do you guys start working on material for Violent Revenge?
Yeah, good question. Well, we recorded, it came out in 2009, I think. Oh, yeah, somewhere. Well, let's say working on it sounds a bit over-exaggerating
Or
because
writing material
yeah,
for it. And
because I'm always sitting at home and like working on songs, and when I have ideas, I somehow note them down. Now
you're the main writer, right? You kind of turn over the tracks and kind of
yeah, you
some
basically always work like that. I was writing the songs, basic structures, and then I presented it to the others. And usually back then I was like rehearsing him with the drummer, like with Hellbastard, and then we went from there. And the studio part, like, it's very likely most of the songs were never really rehearsed vocal wise before we even recorded them. So yeah, these are these kind of things which I would probably do different now. Well, not probably, I would do different nowadays. Yeah, but that's how things worked back then.
it goes, yeah. You go, so you're back in Wally's studio, Toxo Music for that one. You do artwork's done by Daniel Desecrator from Slotbath, Ancient Guard on that one. How do you get involved with him with the art?
Well, he was staying at my house for a week, but I'm pretty sure. Nah, that was later. Okay, I'm mixing up things here. No, anyway, we were in contact with him for some reason, and he had this drawing with which he did with his own blood, like blood on white piece of paper. And we were running out of time to get the cover artwork, and so I thought, like, oh, this looks cool. Maybe he would give this to us to use it. And yeah, then we altered it a bit and then put this green color in the background, and that was ended. That's how the cover came to be. It was a bit last moment kind of decision to use that one. It was not really made for it.
And you mentioned Ramon earlier from Beyond. So you guys get involved with Displeased, and that was from your relationship with him?
Yes, for sure, because I never had anything with the other guys on the label. The Roman was a kind of underground guy, and yeah, basically when he also left the label, everything went a bit downhill there because no one gave a shit about us, really. But
they had like what? Abscess was on there, Destroyer 666, Master.
Yeah, I think they did a lot with From Beyond. I think they did a lot of vinyl versions of stuff which was not on vinyl before. I think this was the basic thing with this sub-label. But Displeased itself, yes, they also had bigger bands. Also, I think also Master and Hades, stuff like this. Yeah.
I'm gonna play Hellhunt from that record. From the Violent Revenge record that came out in 2009. Anything you could tell us about this track, Avenger?
Well, it's a kind of short one. The first one on the album. The scream in the beginning, I think to this day is still impressive because it's kind of long. And we tried to, well, it came from Terrorazor. She was like, okay, there's this scream on the martial arts of the Violent Restitution album of Razor, where it's also quite long, and she tried to outdo him. So, yeah, that's what I can tell about this song.
I'm going to play Hellhunt from Nocturnal that came out in 2009 on Violent Revenge, and we'll be back with Avenger after this track.
Just like on the world, take all the same place. But still
That was Nocturnal with Hellhunt. Daniel, at that time period, you guys are doing shows off that record, Cruel Force, Witching Hour, Hellish Crossfire, and in 2010 you actually add Slaughter. I was talking actually about Cruel Force before you came on, and you add Kevin, aka Slaughter, into the band.
Yeah, because there were always a bit of talks about adding a second guitar player, and I always said, yeah, if you find someone who can play what I play, I'm cool with it. So, and yeah, there was the time like all these back then younger bands came up, like Ketzer, Cruel Force, Witching Hour, and so on. They were just starting, which so also Kevin, the Slaughter guy, he well, somehow the idea came up to add him as a guitar player. So we played a couple of shows with him, but we scrapped the idea pretty fast because we realized we were both not used to a second guitar player, and we were facing problems which we are both not really. We could not hear ourselves on the stage, and it was a bit weird to. Somehow it didn't really sound good. I felt it does not add anything. So because the solo parts in Nocturnal's music are very rare, so I think it was more a mess than it was sounding more massive or anything. So I always felt like, okay, I prefer maybe everything to be a bit more thinner, but more clear. And basically with everyone I was talking to, they were like agreeing, saying like, I never really missed a second guitar in Nocturnal. So basically since this point we just scrapped the idea of adding a second guitar player, because on the other hand you also have to think about, you have to drag around another person all the fucking time, and it's already hard enough to get 4 people under one roof organization wise, and now adding a 5th one was also not and also he's also kind of a alpha person, I would say, and hard to organize. So it's hard to get him doing things, let's say, like this.
Are you, so for you, like, do you have any guitar like, like a lot of guys like Eddie Van Halen or Michael Shankner or whoever, I mean, are you the kind of guy who has like, there's certain dudes you look up to, or is it you just kind of, that's not your thing?
Well, I sure do, but to there are Mike from Destruction for sure, Jeff Hanneman for sure, Mintas for sure, and who else? Yeah, Blackfire of Sodom. Those are the guys I would say are drawing my influence from, and I'm looking up to for what they did.
What are you playing these days? Like, do you have a certain, guitar you always play, or what is your gear these?
I play a Hamer Explorer since I think 10 years now. Well, I own exactly 3 guitars, so and I just always upgraded. I'm not a gear guy, I would say.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you, are you a gear
Yeah,
guy?
I'm just when I realize the one I have doesn't cut it anymore, or I could find something better or more fitting to me, then I upgrade it to the next one, and that's where I'm there today. I'm totally satisfied with that one. I don't see why I should change that. To be honest, I would really like to own an SG at one point, because I just think it looks cool, but I'm pretty sure I would never play it live or anything, but just to own it. But I never could really understand how people can have 15 or 20 guitars at home.
I've seen that.
I don't get this because at the moment you are really like, okay, maybe I will play that one. You just have rusty strings on it, totally detuned, and so just have until you have it prepared for you can play it again. I'm already lost interest, I guess.
Yeah, in 2011, talk about playing. That's the first time, you head to the States, right? You guys play, I think, 2 shows, like Los Angeles, you guys play San Francisco. You guys also played, what was it, with Destruction in Texas?
Yeah, I think it was 13 shows in total. And it was like we started on the West Coast and it ended on the East Coast. Yeah. And in the middle were 2 shows in Houston, I think, and San Antonio. They were with Destruction and Heave, or War Beast, I think, was the band. Yeah, they were on tour with Destruction. They were like, we met in the middle somewhere.
And you got to be honest, what was your first, going to the States, man? It's totally different, right? For you, what was your first thought when you go to the US? Like, what was your thought, just general? Like, obviously the food's big, the people are kind of big sometimes, but what's your thought when you get there?
The size of everything was like overwhelming many times. As not just size of things, but also size of the whole country at all. Like, I remember when we went from California, I think, to Arizona, it took us like 24 hours drive. And then you saw the highway was just straight, and it said no fuel for the next 200 miles. Some signs like this is unbelievable. It's not something you can imagine living here, And it was very eye-opening in many aspects, I would say. It was really a great time, for sure. I would not want to miss. But I saw a lot of stuff I did not really like, to be honest. And I'm glad I don't have to live there. So
What was the Undead and Dangerous North American?
yes. But the people were great. We enjoyed our time there, and there were a lot of funny stories to tell about this. And but the weirdest thing to us was like there were small shows in bars with 5 bands, and everyone had their whole fucking equipment there, like 5 half-built drum kits in the backstage. Let's say like this. It was also just a small and. We were touring with Witchaven, so we were lucky we just played over their shit. So they played before us, we just went in, plugged in, played, and then we at least did not have to do this. But all the other bands, and that's something I don't understand.
That is, I'm living in Europe now, I see this, because when I go to shows here, they have the same, everyone kind of shares the kit, change out
just
the hardware.
The basics, the breakable stuff you bring yourself to your amp.
Not in the States. Yes. Everyone's got different drum sets. It's like it's always like that. Yeah,
that's
I noticed that too, living here now. And you guys played Maryland Death Fest 2011. I actually heard some of this story that like you guys showed up, your set got pushed. You guys lost some time on your set too, didn't you? I'll let you tell the story though.
Yeah, German as we are, we got told. We didn't know our stage time. So we were there 2 hours before stage time. We could not even enter the venue at all. So, and then we were like sneaking in through a fence, and then came Jim from Landslaughter. He came to us. Oh, no, guys, verboten, like forbidden. But he was just joking because he noticed we were sneaking in somehow. So anyway, and we just went in front of the stage, which we were supposed to play, and it was full. It was just empty, nothing there. 2 hours before the show. And there was a guy on the mixing desk doing something. So I went up to this guy. Hello, I'm the guy who's supposed to play on the stage in 2 hours. So what's and he was like, okay, then go and set up the stage. I was like, what? What do you mean by set up stage? Yeah, bring your stuff on the stage. I was like, hey, we are from fucking Germany. We don't have stuff. And he was like,
T-shirts.
hey, then let's see. Okay, give me a second, blah, blah, blah. And then, I don't know, and then he was minding his business again. And then we were there waiting. I had to cut things short. The moment we were supposed to play, we still had no stand for the snare. We were still missing 2 cables. And there was something else still missing. And it was just there because the Witchhaven guys went to their van and were bringing the missing stuff. So, and I don't know, in the smallest German festivals, you would never experience something like this because we know how festivals work here. So, and to me, this was just mind-boggling to me, this was like the biggest metal festival in the US, and that there's no one there, like a stagehand or anyone even guiding you what to do or whatever. This was I've seen a lot of shit going wrong, and I'm okay with all of this, but this I did not understand. Like, even the next 5 bands were still playing with the half of the equipment of Witchhaven. So, because somehow no one gave a shit there about this. And then when I think about the problems the organizer wanted to give to the Witchhaven guys the day before, because they were just there for one day. They did not want them to get that they can get for free there the second day. He wanted them to pay that,
Shit.
and all this bullshit. And they also did not get a hotel room for a second night and blah blah. And basically, all this shit was somehow talked about before. And on site, like, you could not really get a hold of anyone. Yeah, let's cut it short. I was a bit disappointed how things got a bit handled there, but okay, it was an experience. Let's say like this. So in the end, like, we could not even finish our set because even when they did not give a shit when we start, they were very clear when we had to stop. So, and then they just cut off the power when we were in the middle of a song.
What was your favorite show in the States? Because I know you guys played Los Angeles, which was a good gig for you guys.
I would say the Los Angeles show was probably the best one, because I think it was like a 300 people attendance, and it was a very wild show. And I had on the stage, there were people around me, sitting, standing, like it was like we were in the middle of everything. We had people sitting next to the drum kit, and so, because there was not so much space, and it was really crazy. I remember I still have pictures, like you had hair on the floor, which they were like pulling out of each other. It was crazy. That was a really nice show. I would say that was probably the best one.
Because you guys had a show in Texas, right? And it was like a last minute venue change, and you guys wound up I think I wound up fucking the bands a little bit.
Well, there was one of the Destruction shows which was down. Also, I don't remember the full story, but the venue was changed last minute. But I thought it was because of low ticket sales, so they downgraded it. But in the end, we were in a much bigger hall, which probably was holding up to a couple of thousand people, and there were a couple of hundred. It looked very empty because it was so big. So I don't know the full story anymore, but also a lot of people did not get the last notice that the show was put somewhere else, because I also think the both venues were at least 1.5 hours apart. So even the people who were at the old venue, they probably didn't bother driving there anymore.
As you saw, Texas is huge.
Yes.
You guys also, for that, I know in 2011 you guys did 2 compilations, but you also did a special release on that, right? For a 7-inch called Undead and Dangerous. And actually, you mentioned Ketzer. The drummer Seren, he played on that with you guys?
Yeah, he played the whole tour with us. Because we didn't have a drummer at the time, and he was like the session guy who was filling in for the tour. So, and he also played on those 2 songs which we used for this tour, 7-inch, which was basically, it was Preaching Death. It's like a song we later recorded for Storming Evil, and it was a Bathory cover of Sacrifice, which we also played on the tour.
When is the first time? So when you guys go to South America for the first time?
I think this was in 2017. This was the first time in South America.
Is that so? We always talk. Actually, me and Ed always talk about this. Most of our guests, South America, is that to you the most intense crowds?
Well, yes, in one way, definitely, because they are like very open people and also very wild people. But you always have to put things into perspective a little bit, because a weekday there is also a weekday. So this means if you play there on a Wednesday, also don't expect like they are killing each other in the pit. It's if they think they have to get the bus or the subway back home and work tomorrow, then they are also not completely drunken out of their minds. So yeah, in general, definitely yes, but yeah, I've also experienced more calm crowds there, which I think was basically because of those kind of reasons.
And one more question on the States. Food-wise, what did you think of the food of the States?
Well, with food in America, I just remember that like also the sizes of everything were very huge, and I remember we did order a pizza. Well, that was a very weird story. It was in the hotel room in Maryland at the Maryland Death Fest, and we ordered a pizza through the reception, because they had a paper in the room where it said you can order pizza. So
paper menus.
And I remember we had the pizza before at another place, and the pizza was fucking huge. It was like I don't know. We were like 4 people and we could not even barely finish this thing, and it was so oily. You could eat 1 slice and you were full. So for this we asked how big the pizza is, and the response was like 2 books. And we were like, what does this mean, like 2 books? Because I don't know, there's a standard size for books, it's like there are big, huge books, there are small books. I don't know. In the end, we got a pizza, which was like 8-inch, I guess, and the bill was $26 or something.
Jesus. Sounds like these days too.
So, okay, because we were afraid it will be too much, but this was completely like too much. Anyway, this was... Yeah, but anyway, I would say what we did there was White Castle.
Yeah. For me and Ed are from Jersey. White Castle is a staple there.
Holy shit! I think we just stopped at burger places and stuff like steak
Taco
and
Bell.
shares. Yeah, I think stuff like this. So I would not say I would really experience some American cuisine, but we just remember that White Castle thing was really something else. Yeah,
it's popular in the States, at least where we're from. 2012, you also play in a black thrash metal band. You play guitar on a band called Shrine. You guys did an EP in 2012.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was because I wanted to do something with Carnivore, the back then ex-Cruel Force singer. And yeah, that's what basically came out of it. We got another guy to play drums on it, and we did this recording. There were always plans to do a full album with it, but somehow it never really materialized. So, and yeah, I don't think it will happen anymore, but who knows? It's not completely off the table.
It was a 2013 Hellbastard leaves the band, Nocturnal.
Yeah, he left the band 2 times. One time he left, the second time he got left. Let's say like this. But I think 2013 sounds about right, where it was permanent then, yes.
Benjamin, how does he get involved with the band?
Yeah, we met him. I think he was a friend of Vomitor's brother. I think they had some connection musical wise before, and I think they got in contact with each other because he was living in Mainz, which is like where we had our rehearsal room. So he was like at least in the area. And I think we met with him to talk about things, and that's how it went. Yeah, we had a good time together and thought, okay, let's do this. And musical wise, he was a really good drummer and still is, of course. Yeah.
You mentioned Slaughter leaving. Was that so? Did Slaughter leave in 2013? Because you guys do, what was it? Witches Sabbath? You guys did an EP in 2015 called Evil Conspiracy.
I can't even say leaving or let's say like this faded out at one point because we had some shows scheduled, and I was asking everyone if everyone's available, and he was not replying, and I was like, yeah, what the fuck, dude, can you give me an answer? And he was like, yeah, you can agree to the show. If I have time to play it, I will maybe come and shit like this, you know. I was like, fuck this shit, just leave this, you know. And I don't know which time that was. So, but probably in that time, yeah.
And what, Witches Sabbath was just like a one-off thing, just an EP, and that was it?
Yeah, I think we originally wanted to do something. No, I don't. I think that was the thing of Slaughter. He wanted to do something like that, and he asked me if I wanted to do this with him. And we met up in the Nocturnal rehearsal room and worked out these songs together and recorded them right away. He's also doing vocals on it. So I think it's just me on drums, and I added the bass guitar later. It's he's doing guitars and vocals. Yeah.
Then 2014, the next Nocturnal record comes out on High Roller Records.
But
you guys are
saying something about this, I have no idea who these guys are on the Metal Archives picture.
Because
that's not us. But I have no idea who that is, who did put on this picture. So if anyone knows, I would be really curious who those two guys are.
Did you guys you guys hook up with Nocturnal hooks up with High Roller Records, which I've always liked that label. How do you guys get involved with them? And you guys do that as a 4-piece, right? The Storming Evil record.
Yes. Well, there's a guy who was working for High Roller in the time, which we all had good contact with because he's an old friend of ours. Actually, there was a time he was also considered as a second guitar player for Nocturnal. So we had one rehearsal with him, but clearly he was not really good enough to do that. So we left that. But he was a friend who was living in the area at the time, and he was working with High Roller, and somehow through that connection, the deal came to be.
Is that album, so we're talking about the Storming Evil record, is that like the material on that record, was that the most of like the to that point, we'll say, so like up to 2014, is that the most that the other band members had in the writing process with you, would you say?
No.
That was you? That was all you on that one too?
Yeah, let's say like this. What the idea behind this album was, we did not want to make something wrong this time. So we got ourselves someone in Mersus, who was the back then drummer of Gospel of the Horns and Destroy 666. He has his own studio, and we especially asked him, or he was also offering himself. He wanted to work with us, and we also wanted a guy like him who is like trying to push us a bit. So, and that's what we did, and also in parts where we were like a bit sloppy before, in the mindset, let's say like this, of not doing things completely right, he was like making sure we will do it right. So, and especially also with the vocals, and so because I think especially with Violent Revenge, we did not put so much effort into recording the vocals, and we all agreed we have to do this better this time. So but the songwriting itself, it's still basically all my stuff. But for the first time I got a bit of criticism from the others, let's say like this. Here and there was things they were like, I don't think that's so great. Maybe you can overthink this. And I was a bit grateful for this kind of feedback, because nowadays I also think, like sometimes you have your tunnel vision of things, you do your things like you always do them, and you think it's great, and you don't even question it. And that was basically the first time the others were also like saying, okay, maybe we can try something else there, blah, blah, blah. And that's when I was thinking, okay, let's try something else. And nowadays I'm happy we did this, because I also think the songs are now better. And it was a bit of a process also in the studio, because also Merzos was like suggesting things here and there. Sometimes he took it, sometimes not. But in the end, at least we talked about it. So, and in the early stuff, things did not go that way.
And is that the same time period? I'm not sure if it was 2013 or 14 when you become part of the Fog. You play drums on that.
Yes, it's I think it's now 10 years nearly since the album came out. Yes,
You
I
guys
actually
did what?
I,
One full length? 2016?
yeah, one full album. Yes. Yeah. I actually met the guys last weekend here. And we were always talking about, but actually the new album was already half recorded, and somehow in the process, we somehow, I don't know what happened. I think we were missing like 2 songs, and we never ended up finishing those. And now we are missing another guitar player again. So yeah, I'm not sure where this will go in the future, but at one point we will do something.
You guys did that. And then when do you start realizing, back to Nocturnal, when do you start realizing that Tyrannizer is going to be leaving the band?
Well, she told me in 2014 or 15, when we played the Partisan Festival, because she has health problems and she got more and more problems with her voice. And at one point she realized she can't do this anymore. And it was like also a process of realizing this. And then she tried to work against this with also taking vocal lessons and to strengthen the voice and so on. But it looked like back then like it will not really work out to the better. And then she decided to leave. She did not want to do this, but she said she basically has no other choice than doing that. So it was sad for all of us, because
She got a killer voice, yeah.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, but that was a bit the problem. Like when the live shows, they were like great for the first 3 songs, and then it went downhill because her voice was affected too early. And then, also like when she was talking before the show too much, it was already a problem, and so on. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
that's always a thing.
yes. So it was, yeah, sad to hear that she can't do that anymore.
So she leaves the band, and then Invoker, I mean, obviously you have Terrorazor, he was involved with that too. 2016, right, when he joins?
I think 2017 we had the first shows with him. So yeah, there was a time where we were looking for someone. He was offering himself pretty early, but at the first moment I thought it's probably not the best idea, because he's also the singer for Witchburner. Yes, and they in the time they were also still active as a band, and I always said, nah. I did kick out another guy for
You have a
singing.
lot of Witchburner ties.
Yes. And so it sounds a bit stupid if now. So anyway, at one point, but I said, fuck it, let's try this. And because personally, we were always in a very good, friendly, we are friends since a long time. And so it just makes sense doing that. And since then, so now he's the singer who is the longest time in the band nowadays.
It's great thrash voice too, I mean, and then what, 2016 is when Benjamin leaves also? on drums.
Yes, sounds about right.
That brings us to John Berry, right? Which we had John on here. One of my I have to say, like, it was a great guest on here. I mean, the dude was awesome. So you had already talked to John, right, prior about joining the band, but it just didn't happen?
Yeah, there are two stories about this, which I'm not sure which one is actually completely right. Well, from what I remember, Vomitor asked him at one point if he can join the band, and then somehow Benny, like Splitter, ended up rejoining the band, and then this was kind of off the table. And from how I did understand it, yeah, John could not do it because it's too far and everything. So, but he said, okay, how he got it was we got Benny back in the band. For this, it was off the table. So anyway, it doesn't matter. It was probably just a miscommunication thing back then. So, but at one point later, I think must have been also 2017 or 18. Like me and John, we went on a show together, and then we were talking about this again. And he was like, "If you would ask me if I want to join, he would do it." And I said, "Okay, then I'm asking you here right now," and that's basically where we sealed that. And
he lives a distance from you too.
It's like 500 kilometers. It's quite a distance. He lives on the other side of Belgium.
And also at that time, Vomiter leaves, right? But you guys had Marco filling in for some shows.
Marco was from Witching Hour. But yes, he was filling in for some shows, yes, before Incinerator actually came into picture.
And John's first show, John was telling us about this, if I remember correctly. So John's first show with you guys, with Vulture, he had something going on, and he was supposed to, I think it was actually had something to do with the guys from Possession. He was supposed to go to do something with them.
Yeah.
Basically, like the same day you guys, I could be getting this wrong, but you have like 12 tracks that he's just learning.
Yes.
It's the same day you guys rehearse this is when he plays, you kind of pop it up on him and be like, "Hey dude, you want to do a show tonight?" And he goes and does a show with Vulture.
Yeah, it was like this. There was a festival here. Like I know the organizer was a girl who was putting on the show. She's a friend of mine, and one of the bands canceled. And she asked me if we can play there with the Fog. So, but I asked the rest, and it didn't work out. And then I just told her, "What do you think if we could play with Nocturnal there?" And she was like, "Yeah, of course." She would not even think about that because it's another level. Like, so I was like, "Yeah, let me check some things." And then, because Marco, the guy who was playing bass at the time, I know he would have been at the show anyway. So I wanted to go there. So it was just John and Invoker, the singer. I didn't know if I asked the singer, he will be there. So I had the appointment on Friday with John to rehearse, and then Saturday was the show. So he came to my place on Friday. We rehearsed, and I was like, "What's your plans for tomorrow?" "I will come back to Belgium, visit my friends there in Namur, like the Possession guys." And I just said to him, "Tell them to fuck off. We are playing a show." And he was like, "What?"
Yeah, he told us that.
But let's say like this: I to him I presented it like there's no other choice. So because he told me he's a very spontaneous guy, and I tested how spontaneous he is. But in the worst case, to the girl who organized it, I told her I will tell her, because it did not matter anymore. Like I told her I would tell you Friday evening. So, and if he would have completely said no, I can't do this, it's too short notice, blah blah blah, then I would also said no, we can't do this. So, but somehow we both agreed, okay, if he skips his visit with his friends and he stays here and we will rehearse one more time on Saturday before the show, we would probably somehow can work it out. So, and that's what we did.
That's a good story too. So, the first thing you guys record, I think you guys do it in your basement actually. 2019, you, John, Invoker, and Incinerator record you guys did a split titled Unholy Thrash Metal.
Yes, it was a split with Nocturnal-From. Yes.
And you wanted to redo a song anyway.
Well, the idea was like this. I thought about recording the future album myself, but I wasn't so sure if I can actually really pull it off good enough for someone else to actually mix it in a good way. And so I thought I need to do a test run. And so we recorded. Well, there were two songs I always wanted to re-record. It was Beast of Hades and Preventive War, a song from the first and from the second albums. I somehow, something in those songs always bothered me, and I was like, okay, that's the chance now. Doing a re-recording of them, and also we recorded 2 cover songs, and like 4 tracks in total. And 2 of them ended up on the split with Nocturnal-From, and 2 of them ended up on the split with Sabbath later on. So, and that's what I did. We recorded it and gave it to someone to mix it, and then I realized, okay, I can actually do this. So this was basically a mix of both things, like an urge to somehow re-record those songs, and somehow it was also good to have like a sign of life before the actual album, because I did know in the time it will still take a bit of time until we can actually record a new album. So was a good thing for in between.
And by new album, you're talking about 2021 Serpent Death,
Yes.
which you guys actually record that in 2020, I believe. And so, first of all, it's your first album with Dying Victim Productions with this band, with Nocturnal. Why the switch? High roller, I should say.
Let's say like this. This was a bit of a feeling thing. We still had the offer to do another album with High Roller. There was never a contract, so we were not obliged to do this, but we had the offer. But in the meantime, like Dying Victims, like became very professional and got a good distribution. And I know Flo Dying Victims since a long time, and somehow I felt better working with him, because there we would be not just a smaller band in a pile of stuff coming out, and I thought there we would be a bit more important, let's say like this. Anyway, I felt better also between the bands he's releasing. So it was just a feeling thing. Money-wise, it absolutely made no sense. because but the reason why we could pull this off was because I did record it myself. So we had no costs in this, so we just had to pay the mixing guy and artwork and stuff. So that was basically covered somehow. But it was a lot less than what we would have gotten from High Roller. But anyway, as long as in the end everything's paid, I'm cool. And yeah.
It was mixed by Alex, right, from Speed Whore?
Yes, exactly. It's a guy from Berlin. He was working prior with Nocturnal-From with their first EP. Not the first, but the Beastfuck EP. And then, and I know he's like very into analog equipment and stuff. And so I thought asking him during the mix.
So that's something that you really wanted on this record, is for the instruments to sound natural.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm not the completely analog worship guy, like for the sake of it and anything, but I think I had the impression like he has at least a feel for the way I would like to have sounded. How to achieve it is another thing. Well, in the end, what he did, if I'm not too sure how necessary it was, but was still a cool thing, was he mixed everything digitally and then recorded the whole thing on a 2-inch reel tape and then transferred it back to digital. So you had a bit this analog warm feel. So that was kind of cool. He did this. So, and in general, yes, I'm very satisfied with what he did.
Yeah, I had read a quote from that when that album came out, that you had said something like, with Serpent Death, you wanted to make the record that you wish could be out in 2021, that you wanted to find, but you couldn't.
Yeah, so that's always my approach when doing music. I'm trying to do something I would like to listen to myself. So, and I have this a lot of times when I listen to albums, and it's like, oh, I really like this in the album, I like the songs like that, but somehow the drums bother me, or the vocals, fuck this, or something, small details. I think, which, well, in the grand scheme of things, but I try to do the perfect thing how I want to listen to it. So that's basically the to summarize this.
And on that record, the artwork for that, was that a gift? Because you got that from, Nino and the Resto, right, from, an Indonesian artist. Was that actually a gift to you?
Let's say like that. The guy contacted me, wanted to offer doing artwork for us. And when I checked his other stuff and there were some things, I was like, oh yeah, this is so really in the style I could imagine. And then I asked him if he could do this for us. And every time I wrote to him, I asked him, let me know what you will get for this and where to send them on. And I always asked, but he never really responded to that part. He was very fast in sending sketches and doing this and changes and everything. But when it comes to the money part, he was just ignoring it. So, and at one point, he was telling me he was some kind of away for a while, but this was always after he did. Well, he asked me, for him it's important he can make it public. He worked for us, for he can get more
Yeah,
work.
for the resume, his portfolio.
And he was like, oh, when you guys publish the cover artwork and blah blah blah. And I said, for now, because there was also Corona going on, and we did not even know when we could even start the fucking recordings. The cover was done already. And I said, hey, guy, man, I can't really tell you. And I don't want to publish it now since we don't have anything else to offer. And he was like, maybe I can do something else for you guys. So in the end, he did something else again, like a shirt design for us. And so on. They say, yeah, okay, you can publish this right away and blah, blah. So they were still, let me know what you will get for this. I don't, because that felt not so good, like just asking and not paying for it. So, and then he was gone for a while. His page was gone, and I don't know. No, he was disappearing. And then at one point, he suddenly appeared again. And then I don't know. If it was me contacting him, or then he was telling me some story that he was too much working because his sister, he had to pay for the school for his. I was, man, just tell me what the fuck you.
Yeah.
And then he was like, he is my purple. Maybe you can send me something. I don't know. And I sent him like $200 or $300 or something.
It's a killer cover. I mean, it's a pop. The cover pops. The color on it's great.
Yeah, I was
goes
like,
with the title,
you know,
perfect, Death.
I mean, of course, we are not swimming in money or anything, but I don't know if he tells me something like, you know, he can't pay for his sister's school. Fuck this. I can at least contribute to this, you know, he gives us something. Yeah, and then he was like, he was cool when he just gets like a hoodie or a zipper of the artwork. And I was like, yeah, of course. And then I also sent him a package when everything was here, like the merchandise and so on. And now I don't know where he is again.
So if he's hearing this,
the only thing I realized is I got an album from Sweden, from Autonomant, a Swedish band, a young band. I saw the cover art, was like, oh, this cover artwork is really cool. Let me check who did this. And I was like, it's the same guy.
Nino.
Yes.
So yeah, a couple more things, man, because, you know, we have 2021, you put out a demo titled On the Other Side of Daylight with a band called, a project called Moon. You and a female vocalist named Eerie Strains. 4 tracks, also came out on Dying Victims Productions. What's the story behind that demo?
That was in the works for about 5 years. The girl singing there, she's a friend of mine, and that's also the first time she's actually singing on a recording. I heard her singing Scorpions drunk. And I thought she has a good voice. And then, I know she's into doom metal and stuff. And then we were just always joking about forming a doom metal band together. And for years it was just talking. And then at one point we actually tried it. So I wrote songs, and gave it to her to write lyrics, vocal lines, and stuff. So yeah, and apparently at one time we finished this whole thing like 5 years later. So
She's in another band too now, right? Or another project she did a recording for. I think it's called
yes,
Capricorn, maybe.
yes, yeah, she's singing there as well. Yeah, that's basically yeah. Let's leave it like this. I
You
don't
did
know
that.
if they want if I tell this, but yeah, okay.
And then 2021, you also do drums for a band, Sacrifiction. What you guys did an EP same year titled Shower Me in Death, which had 4 tracks on it. Also has Carnivore from Cruel Force.
Yeah.
What's the story behind that?
Well, that was with me and Sören, the guy who was doing the guitars and bass on this. He has also a couple of projects. His most well-known one is Wound. And he always said, Daniel, we also at one point need to do something together, blah, blah. And it was also, I think, the Corona times. He had a bit of free time. Then we were exchanging some ideas. And he sent me like click tracks with guitars, and then I recorded drums over it. And we just wanted it to be in a crusty death metal style. So, and that's what it turned out. And then we got Carnivore to do the vocals. And that's basically all what is there to tell. We got House Headbangers to release the EP, and Chase just said, under one condition. I was like, what? And he's like, if you guys do an album, we can do it. And it's
Are
like,
you guys is there a future for the band, or is it?
yeah, let's say like this. At this point, I had no idea what's going, if there's anything going. But I said, okay, if we already know we have a label who would release an album, that's at least already a bit factor of motivation getting shit done. But so far, nothing happened. Yeah, I
What
must say,
about
Søren, like the guitar guy, he became a father recently, and I think now the second time he has the second child now. So his focus is with something else. They also paused Wound for this because all the other members, except Incinerator, who's playing with us, he's the only one who has no children. And
It changes everything. I got 2, man.
yeah,
That's the end of
yeah.
Ed has a batch too. We all know it's a game changer. You know. What about 2022? You also have another project, Atrocious Devastation. You did a demo in 2022 and an EP in 2020. What's the status on that?
Yeah, that's just me. I do everything with that. Yeah, it's just like influenced by old hardcore punk, like exploited Wolf Brigade kind of stuff, fast and heavy. And yeah, also kind of I tried a little bit with lyrics in there, like from the usual, a bit different from the usual stuff I do with Nocturnal or Frontpiece, for example. So I had some ideas for this. So yeah, I have like also I think 2 unfinished songs lying around and a couple of cover songs which I need to finish at some point. I just recently wanted to record guitars for it, and then I realized I did not even record the drums yet. So I'm still at this point. This will be one of the next things I will take care of. But I'm not sure in what way it will be released or at this point.
What's the like with Nocturnal? You know, you guys, the last thing you guys did was the 2022 split with Japan Sabbath 7-inch on Thrashing Rage Records. So, are you guys working on a new album, or what is the latest with Nocturnal?
Last year we did those Best Desecration re-recordings, which still missing vocals so far. But these will be Invoker, like he's recording the vocals for the new Witchburner album right now. He's actually recording it with me because he's living closer to my place, and so he's coming here to record it. And once this is finished, we will also finish these recordings. So, and I have like 6 new songs basically ready to be worked out more for Nocturnal finished. So I'm positive we will do something with that next year. I'm not sure if it will be released next year, but at least probably recorded. I'm not Well, the thing is, like, we can't record, we can't rehearse like weekly or something. So this takes always a bit of time to work on new stuff. And I'm not too sure how we will proceed with this in the future. But that's my rough time plan I have for this. So recording a new album next year.
And basically, 2 more questions for you, man. You got Ancient Lore, another thing you did in 2024, 3-song demo, cassette. What's the status of that, and how would you explain that to the listeners?
Well, I had a short phase again where I was listening to a lot of Swedish and Norwegian black metal. Felt inspired to do something similar. So the drums are programmed because they are like has a lot of blasts and stuff, like something I'm not very good at as a drummer. And I wanted to have it consistency. So I thought programming is better in this department there. So anyway, I recorded this demo tape. I have an album of songs as demo versions, let's say like this, which I want to, will probably be Ancient Lore stuff. But I took one of the songs out of it because it was a bit different and used it as a Frontbeast song because it was too heavy metal.
Yeah, I heard that about you. You don't like to mix, right? You pretty much want
Yeah.
things to fit in a certain category.
Yeah, so now I have like a full album minus one song. So now I'm stuck with this, and you know, that's probably, I'm not sure if it's a weakness or something good because I get distracted fast. I have unfinished stuff lying around. I'm very motivated to do in the moment, but a week later I can lose interest in it, and then it's lying around forever without, like these cover songs, the Scalare cover songs I was talking about earlier. I recorded Guitarist last week. I realized the drum recordings were done in 2022, so 3 years ago.
Damn.
So and I just remembered about them because I had a talk with my girlfriend about this, and then it just came back because we were listening to the songs, and I was like, yeah, I have these recordings lying around. I want to cover all the time. I completely forgot about that. So it
Reminded
happened.
you tonight too. So
Yeah.
And then the last project, I think I've mentioned almost everything. 2024 Void Spectre. You could do drums, bass, synthesizers on that. You guys, 2024, put out To Behold a Temple of Ruins on Deathstrike. And that's members of the Fog with you on that.
Yeah. So this is basically the project of Defiler, which is also the bass player of the Fog. It's his, well, he wrote the songs, let's say like this. He always came to me with like, I have some black metal songs written. Do you want to record them with me? Blah, blah. I said, yeah, of course. And he sent me always like WhatsApp messages, like shrugging the guitar. And I was like, dude, I can't make anything out of this mess. And first he sent it on me on an acoustic guitar, like recording it. So anyway, at one point we were sitting down actually in the kitchen of Terrorazor, and I came with a laptop and we did like program click tracks, and I said, now play me the riffs, and then we made a structure out of those songs, and I made like something I could record drums to. So, and after I did that, we recorded everything else in my basement. Yeah, and the first it was not planned I will record also the bass. We wanted to look for someone else doing that, but did not work out. And that also the same guy who was also singing for the Fog also does the vocals there, was also the idea of him, to ask him doing that. So in the end it's like the same guys doing
You guys going to
something
do anything else in the
different.
future, or is that pretty much?
Well, I got told he has more songs. Let's see what happens. Well, the recordings are already, well, they just came out last couple of, like half a year ago or something, but the recordings were lying around for 2 or 3 years. because nothing really happened with it. That was one of the reasons I did it myself together with another friend who has a label called Namentage. We made this as a corporation.
And you got your hands in a lot of stuff, dude. Like I was, like I said, man, when I had John on and we were talking about some of the stuff, I totally was like, yeah, I got to get Daniel on here eventually. And I was like, Ed, could you imagine, like, me and Ed had been in a couple bands at the same time, like 3 or 4, but you have so many projects going on, man. It's like, I mean, could you imagine that, Webb?
Nope. I had my hand in 3 or 4 bands at one time, and it was way too much. Just way too much.
Yeah, but I think the difference is, like, most of it is just like there's a time for everything, you know. It's not like everything's going in the same time. I'm doing things after each other. So, and the bands who are like playing live, like Nocturnal is the one which is like, okay, those songs I play since over 20 years. It's like in my sleep, you know.
Is that your main? That's your baby, right?
Yes,
That's your main.
definitely, yes, for sure. So this is also where the rehearsal part is not that mandatory, because we all know our shit, and we can, when we have a show, we could pull it off without the rehearsal. But okay, I also prefer we have one before, so the live set, play it once or twice to be prepared. But now we have shows with Angel of Damnation. That's a whole different story, because that's something I haven't done since 2008. I have to figure out all the songs again we want to play. That's like something which is will be my job the next 2 months until November, when we have the first shows. So we have to rehearse with the other guys and see how this will go. And I could also not imagine having 2 or 3 things going on like this at the same time. I could also not do that.
Man, dude. Well, first of all, I would tell people, I would say, hey, where do people go to get this band's merch and this band's merch? But I did look. I even saw some exorcism stuff on the site. Deathstrike Records, right, has pretty much a bunch of shit.
Yeah, that's basically was the main reason, because the label itself, it's not doing much anymore. It's basically an online shop for stuff connected to what I do, because that's was always a bit the problem in the past, to get something under one roof where you can get everything which is available, which doesn't mean there's a lot available, but what is available is usually there.
I will ask you one last question here, actually. What would be something that you listen to that people wouldn't expect you to listen to, man? Like, are you into punk music and stuff like that? For me, you can't listen to something 24/7. You have to kind of mix it up a little bit. Is there anything that would really surprise people that you're into?
Well, some may be surprised, some not, but it's like some German rap stuff. Or like, well, would not say listen to, but it's something I can appreciate. Also, like the Wu-Tang Clan stuff, or NWA, stuff like this.
Yeah, it seems, Ed, we always say that, right? When we were growing up, it was different, man. Like, it was like, you had those bands like NWA or Eazy-E, and it's just different than it is now. I mean, maybe I'm just old where I hear rap now and I'm like, what is this shit?
Yeah.
Back then, it just seemed a little more, it was just different, you know?
I was just showing someone non-fiction, which was the band, like the project of Ill Bill. Like I think this guy had a thrash band in the 80s with his brother, and he's doing hip hop now. And in non-fiction, they were just having this Voivod logo as a logo, so there's some influence there, I guess.
Who's the band we talk about, Ed? Ghetto Boys?
Yep, from Texas. Fifth Ward, Texas.
Yeah. Man, Daniel, first of all, I cannot thank you enough for hanging out with us tonight, and and also listening to the show sometimes. I think that's awesome. When you told me that, I was like,
yeah, I still have a lot to catch up, but I have a lot of like the Nunslaughter one or King Fowley.
the Fowley one was great. I love King. I mean, and the Venom one. He listened to the Venom
I had
too,
that one. And also, like, I felt a couple of the last 5 were all guys I know, also with Alessio and Daniel Salston.
It's a big circle.
It's like, okay, they are having all my friends on there.
I mean, it's like a big circle.
Also John and Frank and so on. Yeah.
Yeah, Frank was awesome. I had actually wanted to get Frank on since we started the show.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of those, you know, him. We had Snowy Shaw on, which was awesome. Jeff Manis, with that was, like I said, I always tell everybody, I'm like, listen, I'm not saying we're this or that, but I would say the Jeff Manis interview to me is the best Venom interview I ever heard. I don't know. That's just my.
Yeah,
Jeff was
I
great.
would never expect to get this insight from him.
Yeah, he was
Like everything, what like the
everything, right?
personal or with the band or everything. I would have never imagined this, and that was something else. Yep.
Him and King Fally both. That was another one. But yeah, dude, I really appreciate you coming on here, man. I'm hoping that you guys hit Lithuania this year. But yeah, man, I just want to say thanks for coming on here and hanging out.
Yeah, no problem. I had a good time with you guys.
Is there so anybody who wants to find Nocturnal, you guys got an Instagram page, you know, you got the Facebook.
The usual shit, yes. Yeah.
Usual
Just
shit.
Google it, you will find it.
So Daniel, is there anything you want to say on the way out?
No, I think I'm good.
We covered every project almost, right? For
Yeah,
the most part.
I think you did not leave much out of it.
Yeah. And we'll say goodbye to you in a second. And on the way out of here, we're actually going to play Black Priest of Satan. We're going to play Guided by Two Moons off of the Element of Destruction record that came out on Deathstrike Records on March 4th, 2016. Anything you could tell us about this song?
Not much, I guess.
Hey, that's the truth, hey. You know, but yeah, man. So we're gonna play some Black Priest of Satan. Daniel, thanks again for coming on. When the next Nocturnal comes out or any other projects, man, we'll get you back on here. And yeah, dude, very cool to have you hang out.
Yeah, anytime again.
This is Black Priest of Satan with Guided by Two Moons, and yeah, we'll be back with me and Ed on the Tampa Morgue. Thanks again, Dan.
Wisdom.
And that was Black Priest of Satan with Guided by Two Moons off the Element of Destruction record that came out on March 4th, 2016 on Deathstrike Records. And I definitely want to send a big thanks out to Daniel Avenger for hanging out on the Tampa Morgue with us. And Ed, another episode in the books, episode 107. You know, it was killer episode as always, I got to say, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, he made me realize that when I was in 3 bands that I was a pussy for not wanting to be in 3 bands. You know, I mean, I heard that and I was just like, you know, I'm like, I get it, you know. So I was doing mine consecutively where he mentioned that he wasn't his run kind of after each other, where I'm doing the beginning of the end of Brutality leading into our new band Contorted back then.
Yep.
And then I'm in Diabolic, which was weird because the Brutality dudes didn't mesh when I was in Brutality. I don't know how that worked. And then doing Execration, you know, at the same time. And all different things too. I wasn't just like one I played guitar and sang, one I fucking played bass, the other one, you know. So, but it was too much. Like it was too much. 3 bands were too much for me. And I was like, had no life. I worked and I came home and did music. Like I didn't have kids. I didn't have a life.
Well, I think if you're listening to Avenger too, what he was saying, like he doesn't want to mix the projects together. He likes it all separated. And plus, you know, I mean, they're definitely different styles. Like if you listen to like the Angel of Damnation, you know, listen to that, or you listen to Nocturnal, it's different from Black Priest of Satan, and it's different from this and that. And you know, a lot of stuff going on. But you know, again, like when we had Dawn of the Dead on from Nunslaughter, like I was, you know, I knew there was a big discography there. I tried to figure out how I was going to do the interview and stuff. And with Nocturnal too, it was like, okay, how do I do this where, you know, you can't go over every release because there's so many releases, but it worked out, man. He was a killer guest. And I really appreciated him giving it. He came right from work on here too. So,
yeah,
you know,
awesome.
Yeah, that was very cool of him. And, you know, like I said, man, it's, you know, Ed, you know, I'm a big fan of some of these bands, so it's fucking great to get some of these guys like the Lord Sabathans and, you know, the Nocturnals, you know, just, I mean, obviously Nunslaughter. So it's cool that these guys give us their time and we totally appreciate it because they are not, you know, like we always say, man, sometimes getting some metal bands on is not as easy as you think because some are popular now and so big, but some of these guys stay loyal to the underground and we totally appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, again, this is history. People will go back and, you know, it's funny because you think of people and you mentioned him earlier about Thomas Lindbergh, you know, passing.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, you know, imagine because those that band is what that and Morbid Angel or what Eulogy was formed.
I mean, how many bands did that guy influence?
Yeah, man.
You
Well, I
know?
can tell you for a fact because when I got in Eulogy, it was go listen to Gardens of Grief and The Red in the Sky Is Ours. Go listen to these records. Go listen to these records. And at first, I was like, "What am I listening to?" Because it was super melodic. And then over time, I was like, "I get it." You know what I mean? I get the harmonies, and I get because when we were writing harmonies, we weren't writing them strategically like they were. We were just writing fifths like a Brutality or a Monstrosity would, you know, early days, just writing a fifth so it sounds brutal. Those dudes were writing fucking riffs over riffs, which I learned how to do, and that's why Destined to Ruin sound like it did, because coming off of Eulogy and Contorted, that's how we wrote. Because that's how Eulogy taught me a lot of shit. So I give a lot of my stuff to them, which again, At the Gates, Morbid Angel, they were just the way they wrote. And if you listen to old Morbid Angel, it makes sense, right? Trey wrote fucking crazy ass riffs, you know, and 52 years old, man. Just, you know, made me think about myself. You know,
I'm still waiting for Trey to come on here. I don't know if that's I don't think that's gonna happen.
Good luck with that.
Hey, the door's open, definitely.
But Daniel was awesome, man. And
yeah.
Oh yeah.
I definitely appreciate him hanging out with us.
107 in the books.
Yeah, we have Vincent Crowley coming on next week, and then you know we got Black Venom from Flame coming on the week after that. So as always, we're busy around here, man. And again, dude, this is like going to be like a 3.5 hour episode. It looks like.
Yeah.
So I say we wrap it up.
We're not fucking going to ramble on here any longer.
Yeah. Because you know it's before you know it, we'll be back on in a couple of days.
Yep.
So
we have nothing to say. We're nobodies.
Yeah. We got
So
nothing to say.
Ready? Spotify, Apple, Amazon, anywhere podcasts are, YouTube, no video. Sorry, deal with it. You didn't want to see me fucking.
Yeah, let's be
wanna see
honest.
me
Like we
fucking
tried to do
squirming in
some
my chair.
YouTube. We tried to do some lives. Not that we're never going to do them, but we're just not very consistent at like just something about being on the video we don't like. Not saying we won't come on once in a while, but
it's just different. It's different. Like today, obviously you couldn't see him, but he had headphones and a real mic with a
he was set up nice.
with a shield on it, and it was like he was very professional. A lot of times dudes are on their phone, and it just doesn't come across. Luckily the software we use makes, sometimes when we hear it, it's difficult, and when it comes out, we're like actually blown away. We're like, oh, sounds better than it did when we fucking did the interview. Because the processing on this on Riverside that we use literally helps everything. So
Riverside's a pain in the ass some ways, but it also, the sound is really good usually.
Yeah,
so,
if we tried to do this old school with what were they using?
Like Zoom sucks.
Zoom and whatever the other one was that
Skype,
went away.
which is gone
Skype,
now.
It just, you can't. They were never meant for high quality. It was meant for meetings, not for high quality stuff. So, but yeah, that's it. TampaMorgue@gmail.com for correspondence. Instagram is where we put a lot of shit all the time. I mean, I
got
see
some more shirts coming out eventually soon.
We will have shirts, and when you come back in town, we're already going to have them on the rack and ready to be made, so that we're not fucking waiting weeks with that, dude. Love you, Nick, but we got to have them.
Gotta have shirts.
And
and everybody hasn't checked out Nocturnal. I'm telling you, Serpent Death is a killer record. Came out on Dying Victim Productions, so definitely check them out. Check out the Nocturnal page. Check out Deathstrike Records. And Ed, let's get the hell out of here.
Let's do it.
Everybody else, we'll see you next week with Vincent Crowley from Acheron, the return of Acheron. Because if you listen to the first interview we did with him, there was no more Acheron. So
correct.
Yeah, they are back. And everybody else, have a good night. Peace.
See ya.
This is King Fally from Deceased, and you just listened to another episode of the Tampa Morgue. Tune in next week and stay fucking dead.